want to start by thanking our candidates for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be here tonight to answer questions from us and to promote their campaign. So my name is Jason Eads. I am the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and I will be your moderator this evening. I also want to thank Nicholas Old Main Arts and Heritage Center. How about let's give a hand to this place, this venue. I might date myself here, but as I walked in, I had some old-timers say, this reminds me of an old school assembly where we watched a movie, right? So maybe some of you maybe even attended this school back when it was the high school in Nicholas County. So what a great facility this is. Thank you to all who are attending tonight, to the audience. Appreciate you being here. And to all those who are going to join us virtually as we are streaming live. It is important for West Virginians to be informed so that we can make wise decisions. In light of this historic day, my boy asked me, "Dad, can you tell me what an eclipse is?" I said, "No, son." S-U-N? For some of us, that took a little bit longer than it should have. Hopefully, you are now on your toes and you are ready. We're going to get some answers from some questions. We're going to get some gals and guys up here talking to us. And man, is it important. And I hope that you are ready. I hope that you are listening. And I hope that they deliver, right? That's the whole part of that. The whole part of that. To those of you in the audience, I would like to ask, if you would like to ask a question, please write your question legibly on a piece of paper. They're there on the side. And if you just hold your question up, our runners will come and get it from you. When you write your question, I would ask you to make sure that you write it for which office that you are asking the question to. For you online folks, you can just type that question into those comments, and then we will take it from there. If we are unable to get to the question during this event, you are more than welcome to ask that question to the candidates, particularly after or maybe in the days to come. We are not going to be able to get to all of those questions, but we appreciate all those questions. Okay, allow me to go over the rules for tonight's event. These rules, they're going to help us to be fair to every single one of us who are participating. We do have some snacks and drinks in the back. Anytime you want to get up, grab you a water or a cookie. I hear they're really good. There are no brownies, though, this time, and boy, do I like brownies. Please place your cell phones on silent. That way, once someone is answering a question, they are not interrupted with maybe the theme to Superman. We are going to start with introductions. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes for their opening statements. Then we will move to questions, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions that are directed to them. As tonight goes, most of those questions are going to be to all candidates, and they will all have a chance to answer. If a rebuttal is needed, those candidates will have 1 minute to respond. And just like I described to those candidates, if a rebuttal is needed, give me a hand wave. I will make sure I see you, and then I will give it. 1 rebuttal per question. Then after that, we will have closing statements, and each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing statements. We do have a couple nuances in there. We have some proxy people that are coming, but I will lead those proxy people through that. During the course of the event, I would encourage all of us, all candidates and our participants in the audience, to stay civil. I want to introduce you to probably the most important person of the evening, a chamber board member, Mr. Charles Green, down front. Mr. Green, he is going to be our timekeeper for the night. He has 2 cards. The first card is a yellow card that signifies that you have 15 seconds remaining. So it is important if you see that yellow card flash up there, that means mentally, I have 15 seconds. Now the red card, well, that means you have 0 seconds, and that means we need to move on. If it continues to be a problem, well, this is why we have the sheriff candidates coming. No, we will work through that. So that second card is that red, meaning that you are out of town. Introductions will begin with those candidates. I will call up the particular office. They will come up, do their opening statement, and then have a seat. And I do ask those candidates to sit in the chair closest to the American flag first. All right. Make sure in your opening statements, candidates, that you make mention to what office that you are running for. That was a concern that we had as we've done these before. Sometimes we get to talking and we forget that we are running for this particular office, and some people had some questions. All right, enough of me. Let's begin. If our governor candidates will make their way to the stairs. Tonight we have a unique set of circumstances. Chamber of Commerce has been doing Meet the Candidates for several years, and far as I know, this is the largest that we have had. 29 candidates have confirmed, so we're going to try our best to get through some of these just as quick as possible. All right, appreciate them coming up. So our very first one we have is a little bit different. This is one of those nuances. So for governor, Chris Miller is running, but he so graciously sent his better half, Miss Cassie. So welcome to the podium, Miss Cassie Miller.
Thanks for having us. This is very important, and that is why I am here, and my husband is out. He's in Wheeling tonight speaking. So we have been married for almost 21 years in May. We have 3 busy, strong kids. As a matter of fact, over the years, our kids have seen Chris designate and devote his time and energy to activities and groups in our community. Chris is rooted in the community. His roots are in our community. They're not in politics. Before we were even dating, we were just met each other. We volunteered together and sliced buffalo at a buffalo versus pig cook-off for the Kiwanis Club. So we go way back to service. He serves right now in our church council at Fifth Avenue Baptist in Huntington, and I am the local school improvement council person at our local Huntington High School. I'm a former teacher and a track coach, and I will always have the heart of a teacher. I have many passions, including farming, education, nutrition, health, and fitness. And you may know that Chris has many passions too. One of them is boxing. Some people may say golf is a gentleman's sport, but I really think boxing is a gentleman's sport. It's a sport of discipline, and when you get punched, you have to move forward, not retreat. It teaches you to think fast. It teaches you not to start a fight, but you can engage once you've been punched, and boy, is that true in politics. He is very strong. He has a very strong punch, but he has a heart of gold. He believes in the good of humanity and the good of West Virginians and our power to overcome adversity, to overcome addiction, poverty, and stereotypes. He believes the family is the strongest governing body. He believes that in the strength of females and women, and that we should keep female sports sacred. He is a strong defender of children and the Second Amendment. Chris is a conservative who walks the walk every day and has before anyone was looking at him. Thank you.
Okay, next is candidate Moore Capito.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be back and be with you all this evening. I'm Moore Capito. I am the Get It Done conservative running for governor. I'm a lifelong West Virginian. I'm the father of 2 kids. I'm the proud product of our public school system. And the future of West Virginia is deeply personal to me. And I know I share that with everybody in this room that has a passion about making sure that the West Virginia that we create and that we continue is better off for our children and grandchildren. Because at the end of the day, that should be one of the goals that's most in our forefront, the future of our kids and our grandkids. I served for 7 years in the West Virginia legislature, and I'm very proud to have worked to lead on delivering the largest tax cut in the history of the state of West Virginia. I'm proud that I authored the bill to ban sanctuary cities in the state of West Virginia so that here in this great state we have 0 sanctuary cities. I'm proud that I increased our teachers' pay. I've also increased parents' options for education and torn down financial obligations so that children can have their choice of where to go to school. We've done a lot of great work, and we've turned deficits into surpluses over the past 7 to 8 years, but we have a lot of work to do. And to take West Virginia to the next level, I believe that there are 3 critical things that we need to do. Number 1, public safety. I truly believe if West Virginia can claim the banner of having the safest communities in the country, people will come here, and people will obviously stay. Number 2 The education of our children and grandchildren is the greatest moral and economic imperative that we have. We have to grow our vocational training in West Virginia, and that's how we differentiate. And we have to unlock our natural resources so that West Virginia can lead this country's return to energy independence. I'm asking for your trust, I'm asking for your vote, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Next is candidate Kevin Christian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Christian, and thanks so much for having me. I recently had a reporter ask me, given your experience, what makes you think that you could be the governor of West Virginia? And that's a fair question, and I imagine it's a question on some of your minds tonight. So if I were in your shoes, and believe me, I am, I would want to know myself. So how much political experience do I have? Absolutely zero. But I think that is a plus. You see, I don't do politics. Politics is the art of not getting anything done, blaming others for your failures, and spending a lot of our money while doing it. Instead, I have spent my life serving this country as a first responder, as an airborne infantryman, as a black hat coal miner, and as an executive business leader. When on that side of the fence, we care about things like efficiency and quality and success. And I would like to bring some of that to the people's business. Now, let's be honest, the politicians have had their chance, and they have not been able to get it done. No offense, but we need a change. We need a change in the way we do things. We need to run the people's business like the well-oiled machine it deserves to be ran as. Now look, I'm for cutting taxes. I wish we can eliminate all taxes, but you have to make up that revenue somewhere. That's just the way it works. And some of these woke warriors don't have a plan for that. This current administration hasn't done long-term financial planning in several years. So I'm afraid that that big surplus, that's probably a lie. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a lie. And you're going to want an executive business leader in that chair when that bill comes due to West Virginia. And I know there's another candidate in the race that said he's a business leader, but he sure don't sound like one to me. So vote for KC, a regular guy, for your governor. Thank you.
Next is candidate Mitch Roberts.
My name is Mitch Roberts. I'm running for governor in the state of West Virginia. I'm having the time of my life, just to be honest with you. I've met some fantastic people. I've run businesses in Raleigh County, Harrison County, Cabell County, Kanawha County, and Wood County. And so I've got this great thing about, I've been all over the state of West Virginia. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying? I've just been really blessed, my wife and I, to be able to experience all the different things. My reason really for wanting to be your next governor is I love this state. I love the people. You know, I mean, we've made some interesting trips together, spoke with different people, but the fact is, I want to take what's working right now, and it's working. The economy's good. Running a business. I've never seen it like this, and I want to grab that and run. And I'll be honest with you, just like they talk about almost heaven. Well, spring, cut grass, flowers. The beauty here, boys, they're not wrong when they say it's almost heaven. Now, for me today, you're talking about a great day. I worked 7.5 hours because I have to work. And then I went and married a young man, his wife, or his now wife, during the eclipse. So you want to talk about a great day? Left that, come straight here, and I get to speak to you people. And when I say you people, great West Virginians. So if you would like to consider myself, Mitch Roberts, for governor, just go to, the only thing I have is a Facebook. Please go there, take a look. If you like what you see and you think I can get it done, please vote Mitch Roberts.
Our next candidate is Mike Warner.
My name is Mac Warner, and I'm running for governor, and I ask for your vote, and I ask for your support. Born and raised here in West Virginia, 6th generation, and I mention that because I think the governor of West Virginia should be from West Virginia. So as you study the candidates, take a look at that. Now, I was born and raised in Charleston, the third of 6 boys. I was president of my student body, captain of track team, but I was an Eagle Scout, and that's an indelible imprint on my life and the character. Ever since then, I can cite the Scout Laws motto and so forth. I live by that daily. I then went to the United States Military Academy at West Point. I was raised to serve. Graduated from there. I was on the honor committee at West Point. Then I went into the field artillery. From there, I got selected, highly selected process, to go to the law school. Became an Army JAG. Went to WVU. Again, very important. Those West Virginia roots. My family has a farm in Barber County. I raised my children in Morgantown. And I'm running for governor because I want to be governor. I don't want to be U.S. Senator. I'm not running for some other office. This is the pinnacle of my career. 23 years in the military, 5 years with the State Department in Afghanistan. I've been all over this world, and there's no place like right here in West by God, Virginia. That's why I want to be the governor. I love this state, and I want to use all these talents. You've been wonderful to me. You've educated me. You've sent me across the globe, and I want to bring those talents back here and put them to work for the people of West Virginia. I'm running in the Republican primary, and that's very important. The Republican primary. I'm not advised by Democrat consultants and Wall Street or Fifth Avenue type consultants that are going to litter your mailbox every day with flashy flyers. No, you're hearing it right now. It's what I appreciate about this forum. Folks, again, it's Mac Warner running for governor. I'm going to be the education governor, and that'll be very important, I hope, during some questions and answers. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
And next, we have a representative for Patrick Morrisey.
Hey folks, how we doing? My name's Skylar. I'm here representing Patrick Morrisey, and before I was asked to come do this, I wanted to jot some notes down and get some things on paper to have everyone understand why I support Patrick. But I'm not just here as a supporter for Patrick. I'm here as a believer in his agenda and his unmatched record. Patrick is not just a conservative. He's a proven warrior for our values, our rights, and for the West Virginia way of life. Time and time again, Patrick has stood up to the forces of the far left, the political elites, and even Joe Biden himself. From his historic victories at the Supreme Court against job-killing Green New Deal policies to his unwavering defense of West Virginia's Christian values, Patrick Morrisey's been a beacon of conservatism in a sea of political turbulence. But let's talk about some specifics. Patrick has been on the forefront of protecting our Second Amendment rights. And in West Virginia, guns are pretty important to us. He's ensuring that our freedoms are not trampled on by overreaching bureaucrats. And one of Patrick's proudest achievements on this issue has been the gun reciprocity agreements with 38 different states. He has led the way for other states around the nation, starting here in West Virginia. His endorsements by the NRA, Gun Owners of America, the West Virginia Citizens Defense League speak volumes about his dedication to our God-given rights to the Second Amendment. Let's not forget his unwavering commitment to the sanctity of life. As the first pro-life attorney general in state history, Patrick has fought both tooth and nail to defend the unborn and cultivate the culture of life in our state. He fought the woke agenda. Patrick has fought in court upholding the integrity of women's sports in a world where the woke left seeks to erase our values. Patrick Morrisey stands as a bulwark against their radical agenda. Patrick even defended legislative prayer at the Supreme Court when they fought to take away our Christian values. Folks, in the upcoming primary, we need someone with a proven record of accomplishment. Patrick Morrisey has that record. Thank you.
All right, thanks to our candidates for their opening statements. Let me remind you to the audience, if you have questions, please write those questions down, hold those things up, and our runners will get to you just as quick as they can. Appreciate all that. Okay, now to our questions. I do want to remind the crowd that those of Chris Miller and Patrick Morrisey, because they sent representatives, will not be answering the questions, but they will be coming back up for their closing statement. So, all right, the first question, and this is for all governor candidates. 16% of West Virginian children experience food insecurity. How will you make nutritious food more accessible for children and families in West Virginia? The first candidate to the podium, Mr. Mac Warner.
Thank you very much for that question. I said I was going to be the education governor, and nutrition is part of that education process. I was talking with some people right here earlier about Save the Children in the children program, we have to emphasize education, not just first through third grades, which our legislature has done a wonderful job with putting assistance in there, but I'm talking birth and even pre-birth through 3, then pre-K. We have to be working to solve and get accessible childcare throughout this state, and part of that is this nutrition program, getting the food into, prioritizing the emphasis on that early childhood education. That is so important, because if not, I was with Will Graham just about a month ago. Will Graham, the son of Billy Graham, went through college without knowing how to read. It took him until he was in seminary for them to realize that he couldn't read. Folks, we can't be passing our children on just to get them moving on down the road. The educators are telling me you can identify these children at grades 1, 2, 3, the parents with the drug addictions and so forth. We need to solve those right at that moment before it gets worse. Thank you so much.
All right. Next candidate is Kevin Christian.
Well, I got to think it starts with the economy. I mean, the reason why we can't feed our children and everyone that needs it is because we have no economy to make that money for. We're relying on handouts from federal governments. We need to be self-sustaining as a state. I think that a lot of our social ills are because we just don't have an economy. And in my personal opinion, every one of the problems that we have, the solution must start right there. I mean, we need to build up a local mom and pop economy so our kids can inherit that, be the entrepreneurs of that, so their next generation of kids aren't worried about where they're going to get their next meal, and they can stay here in West Virginia and thrive, and they can work for what they have. I mean, we'd get back to the old time stuff, right? We need to get back to doing things the way they used to be done. Thank you.
Next is candidate Mitch Roberts.
Well, again, like I told you before, I've traveled the state extensively, Worth County, Calhoun County, Ritchie County, Logan, whatever. And we know that there's certain parts of this state that have larger concentrations of people than others. And what I would tell people about that is the over-administration of the education takes away from the kids. And spending all this money to have all this additional administration and not focusing and putting money back to kids. One of the first things a child gets taught when he goes to school in kindergarten, they teach him how to be a salesman. So they're out there, they're selling candy bars or whatever to raise money for the PTO. When they really should be focusing, like they're saying, on having a nutrition program, not only breakfast, lunch, but some people, especially in the summers, need it all year long. And I say stay focused. Cut the administration, take the money that's needed, and make sure every kid is fed. Should not be charging for anybody's lunch in the state of West Virginia, period.
Next candidate is Moore Capito.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's a great question. You know, oftentimes I think about West Virginia and I look at our flag. And if you know the flag in West Virginia, you know that there's 2 men on our flag. One's a miner and one's a farmer. And I often talk about West Virginia being the experts, and if not a lot of things, for sure those 2, energy and food security. And when you look at what's going on around the world, I think 2 of the biggest national security threats that we face right now are energy independence and food security. For the first time, and I don't know how in my lifetime, the United States will actually import more food than it will export. And guess who's rising the fastest? It's China. Well, I'll be daggone as a father of 2 young kids if I want China serving my kids lunch. And so we have to work on partnering with our local farmers. I've had a lot of discussion with farmers all across the state of West Virginia, over 80,000 miles. And one of the things we've talked about that have increased their business is partnerships with our schools so that we can get fresh food from West Virginia farmers in front of our young children to build their health. Thank you.
All right, next question. Everywhere is hiring. No one is applying. Businesses have reduced hours and/or days of operation due to no employees. The question to the governor candidates: what can be done to encourage and/or require recipients of public assistance to enter the workforce? Our first candidate to the podium, Mr. Kevin Christian.
Kind of hate to sound like a broken record, but if we want people to participate in the job market, then we need jobs. We need good jobs. We don't need corporate globalist corporations taking advantage of our kids. The reason why most people don't want to work, a lot of people like to call them lazy. I just believe the jobs are terrible. I think we need a local, small mom and pop business economy here in West Virginia where we can treat each other like a family, where kids want to work, where they want to come in. I don't want to spend most of my life not even to be able, working and not being able to feed myself or my kids either. I don't want to participate in that nonsense. So we need to stop playing the corporate game and get back to the West Virginia game.
Next is candidate Moore Capito.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot in this question. The first thing I think about is job training. We're going to increase our results by getting our young people and our unemployed people to work if they're trained to do so. Across our travels, in this great state, every single region that we've gone to, we've either visited a career and technical education component of our high schools or our career and technical colleges throughout the state. And I will tell you, as your governor, we will double and triple down on our technical training in the state of West Virginia because there's a shortage of people that know how to do anything. For far too long, kids have been told to just go to college without a plan. But my thought is, why aren't we having kids come out of high school that know and have a skill so that if they do go on to college, they'll always be able to come back and do something? So we will have a plan in West Virginia that every high school student will either be able to go on to the military, get a college education through an admissions exam, or have a workable trade skill in the state of West Virginia. Thank you.
Next is candidate Mac Warner.
Folks, in my opening, I mentioned I'm running for the Republican primary, and I mentioned that specifically because there are 10 planks to the Republican platform, and it deals with, of course, national security, less government, less taxes, but there's also a personal responsibility plank in there, family values. We got to get back to the family. And so, for the most part, we're dealing with situations right now where our society is broken with everything from the woke culture to the problems with drug addiction and so forth. So I think government has a responsibility to step into those situations. So part of the question was, how do you solve this? Folks, if you're on welfare, if you're on public assistance, you should be drug tested, okay? I had to do that in the military on a routine basis. I know people that work heavy equipment need to do that as well. We need to start with some of the basics, fundamentals of personal responsibility. And then we can move on towards things such as, you heard I was a veteran. I think that we can increase our workforce by not inviting the illegal immigrants here, which has been proposed to me in other situations, such as Hoppy Kirksville and others. I say, let's bring back the veterans, the people that are trained, the people that have a work ethic. That's how we solve the work problem here in West Virginia. Thank you.
Next is candidate Mitch Roberts.
Well, first of all, foremost, I'm looking in here and I'm not calling everybody seniors or this, that, and that, because I'm a senior. I got my discount. What I'm saying is there's some young people in here, but it's not full young people. The people got to understand, the people that are here, that are concerned, that are listening to what we have to say. Most of us have lived a pretty nice life, and we've got on with it, and we're pretty set. Now, as a person that runs a business, I can't even get anybody to put in an application. It's probably the easiest job you could ever get. It don't pay get rich wages, but it is a job. And I cannot even get anybody to participate. So what I tell you is, when I was in high school, you had Votech, you had auto mechanics, you had sheet metal, you had HVAC, you had structural. Let's get those programs back in the school and open it up, not just to juniors and seniors. Let's open it up to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, so they can have 4 years worth of experience before they hit the job market. Thank you.
Okay, on to our next question for the governors. The West Virginia economy is ranked number 47th in the United States. The roads are not real good, ranking second worst in the nation. How are you going to improve our state's economy and roads? First candidate is candidate Mitch Roberts.
Well, we are ranked 47th in the economy. Our roads, not very good, but there's a lot of work being done. I give a credit to, the interstate system. We got to understand that when we talk about our roads, I have to drive down a pretty crummy road to get to the road that I need to get to work. So when a lot of people say our roads are bad, it's their road. And I understand that because you don't want to tear up a brand new car that you're making a payment on. Got it. I got it. When it comes to that, as far as the economy, again, I say the economy now is better than it's been in forever. Okay? The ranking 47th, look at us. We're a small state, 1.73 million people. And with that, you're going to have a smaller economy. But we can open that up if you take the fact that we have all these large communities, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, that are touching us. If we can bring those people here, our economy and our ranking will go away. I guarantee it. We got to get them here.
Next is candidate Moore Capito.
Yeah, thank you. When I think about this, I really think, all of these rankings, people, we don't really know what goes into the factor. But one thing that I can tell you for certain, we don't have enough entrepreneurship and innovation in West Virginia. And for me, that's really sad because I think that West Virginians are entrepreneurial to our backbone and in our core. I mean, look at all of the businesses that are around here that have started, that many of you have started and grown in the state of West Virginia. You're all entrepreneurs. And we have a lot of young people now that are coming into the workforce that are willing to take risks. So as governor, I've often said that one of the first things we'll do is we will appoint a chief innovation officer so that people in the state of West Virginia that want to grow small business will have a conduit to ensure that they have the support and education to know how to do something. Small businesses are the backbone, and we have to use technology to build our roads back. Predictive analysis and making sure that when our road crews arrive, they're not figuring out the problem. They have the manuscript in hand to get started right away to speed that up. Thank you.
Next is candidate Mac Warner.
For 84 years, the Democrat Party drove this state into the ground. Okay, we are just coming out of that. It wasn't until 2014 that the Republicans took the House. In 2016, they took the Senate. And then we elected a Democrat governor who has now changed to Republican. What this state needs is a conservative Republican governor based on biblical family values. And when we have that, then we can put our foot on the accelerator and continue down the path. And I mention those changes because it took the Republican legislature to get rid of prevailing wage. It took it so we can get the right to work. The first thing that Nucor asked before they even decided to even look at the state was, are you a right to work state? When we could answer yes, then they continued to look, and now they brought in this huge business. That's what we need to do in the future, is to work with basic principles. I talked the Republican Party platform. We're talking biblical values. You stick to the principles that have worked, time-tested, conservative values, and we're going to get this economy straightened out. We're going to get this state straightened out, and we're going to have an economy that can fix the roads, schools, and the other problems. Thank you.
Next is candidate Kevin Christian.
This is the Chamber of Commerce. You folks are business professionals. It's an easy equation. They cut revenue, which is fine. That's cash flow. That's lifeblood to the state. So how can we restore that revenue without raising taxes? To raise revenue, we need to capitalize resources. We all know this. But most private capital have shifted global and pulled out of town. So without competing with existing domestic extraction private businesses, I want to establish a state bank. Raise capital through the Fed's policy of quantitative easing, which does not add to the deficit, I might add, and invest that money into extraction big time. We use that revenue to seed West Virginia private business. We build a robust local economy, and we all win. One thing I'm not for is enticing foreign companies from coming in and taking our domestic opportunities. By the way, that's their long game, to put us out of business and buy us up on a fire sale, and that's terrifying to me. I believe in West Virginians, local talent. I know tons of brilliant people. We just need the startup capital to get it done.
Okay, our next question is a two-parter. First part. As our schools face teacher shortages, how will you help retain and recruit educators? And then the second part of that is, How will you make this state more friendly for homeschool families? First to the stage is candidate Mitch Roberts.
Well, in the state with the educators, now I went to school to be a teacher. I feel like I teach all the time, but I just never taught in a classroom. I think you have to bring back the respect factor to teachers. The kids have to respect them. They have to learn that at home, they have to take it to school, but you've got to give, just like the law enforcement officer back there, you have to give teachers and administrators the power or the ability to discipline your child. If your child's out of control, it needs to be taken care of. And, you know, most kids are good, but you've got those that aren't. Those kids need to be disciplined properly, and, you know, that will come back to the teachers. The teachers need to make more money. They need to be equivalent to everybody else around us. They're not making it even close. It's not even close. As far as homeschooling, I'm an adversary for public schools. I went through public school. I think social skills, for anybody that wants to teach their children at home, as long as you're qualified to do that, and if you're qualified to raise a child, then you can teach a child. But I wish, you know, I wish everybody had the same opportunity to go to public school before they were taken from a public school and put into a homeschool. If the schools were better, more kids go to public schools.
Next is candidate Kevin Christian.
I agree with Mitch. There's a lot of discipline problems in our schools, and I think that stems from poverty, from growing up in some very challenging places. They don't have the discipline because they don't have parents who are able to discipline them. So I think tackling poverty would be one of my number one priorities, to get that flowing up in a positive direction, and need to pay our teachers better, to be honest. I mean, I know we gave them a raise, but I still don't think it's good enough. And for that, again, I keep harking on the economy, but we need revenue to get these things done that we're all up here talking about. It's real easy for me to stand up here and talk to you about it, but how am I going to pay for it? If I can't tell you that, I don't really have a real solution. As far as homeschool, protect it, right? Like, everyone has their right to do what they want to. This is America, isn't it? Thanks.
I have been a teacher. I've stood in front of a classroom and taught. I understand the importance of 50 minutes you have with that student. And if you're distracted by a disciplinary problem, it's distracting from the other 19, 20 people in the room while you're dealing with that one. We have to deal with the disciplinary problem. My daughter, Lisa, I have 4 children. My first 2 went through public schools just fine, but she ran into a problem because she was running with the wrong crowd. We had to pull her out of the public schools and put her into a private school, and it straightened her out. She ended up going to the United States Military Academy and served in the 82nd Airborne and over in Afghanistan as well. Turned out just great, but it drove home to me the importance of school choice, whether it's homeschooling, private schooling. We need to emphasize on that student. There's a 3-legged triangle that's important in education. It's the teachers, it's the parents, but it always has to be focused on that student. And so that's where I'm going to have my focus. That's why I said I'm going to be the education governor. I'm going to keep that focus on the students, and we're going to get the teachers the proper pay so we're competitive with the surrounding states. We're going to fix PEIA, and we're going to restore discipline in the classroom so the teachers can teach and not have to be disciplinarians. Thank you.
Candidate Moore Capito.
You know, I think some really good stuff has been said, and I mean, you know, I think Mitch started it off really well. I mean, this is about respect in the classroom. You know, you hear, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from teachers and law enforcement officers about not wanting to go into the profession because of how it's looked upon. And that's a reputational thing that we have to change, and that change begins in the household. We have 53% of our young people that are in our school system right now that are being raised by a grandparent and not by their parent. So we need to know what's going on in our children's lives. That means getting more mental health services in our schools to know when we're touching these kids, what's going on in their lives. How can we expect them to learn if we don't know what's going on at home? I've been very proud. My record's very clear. I've supported 3 teacher pay raises. I'm a firm believer that we need to give teachers the tools that they need. We need to measure success, and then we need to reward success. I'm also the candidate in the race that's expanded school choice. We've had some of the most expansive school choice in the history of this state, of course in the history of the state, and all across the country, and I've been proud to do that. But it's all of these options, and the more options that we can give, and here's the key word, parents, the better off we will be. Thanks.
We've heard some good things. We've heard some educated answers. And I would love if we could take lots of time where we could answer every question that you guys give out to all of these candidates. But to be respectful of time and respectful of our evening and other candidates, correct? We're going to enter into our closing statements. All right. So first to the podium for closing. Again, you've got 2 minutes, candidates, for your closing statements. Welcome to the podium, Cassie, a representative for Chris Miller.
So Chris is a businessman. He has over 600 employees in the state and is growing, and he's creating opportunity for his employees and our community. He thrives in the problem-solving issues that business creates. Chris doesn't see roadblocks in this state. He sees power, he sees energy, he sees great humans, and if there is a roadblock, he builds a ramp and goes over it. So if Chris were here today, he would tell you a few things that I should probably relay to you. He wants to run state government like a business, keep a very close eye on the state's checkbook. He wants to audit every single dime. He will treat the taxpayers like family with an open door policy. The citizens will have a seat at the table. He would love to get rid of lobbyists out of the governor's office and keep woke ideas out of West Virginia and protect our kids. He will work to better the everyday lives of West Virginians. He will eliminate the state income tax. And most importantly, he believes in serving the way the founding fathers believed we should serve. We learn, we serve, and we return to our community. Chris and I will serve at the Capitol, and then we will return to our community with no hidden agenda to go to D.C. Chris is always available, and he would love your vote for the next governor. Thank you.
Next to the podium, Skylar, a representative to Patrick Morrissey.
Thanks. So earlier I talked about Patrick's record defending pro-life, defending our Second Amendment. And if you look at Patrick Morrissey's record throughout his time in the Attorney General's office, we need that executive level leader that's been there in the trenches, that's been taking the fight to the woke agenda, that's been taking the fight to the far left. We need Patrick Morrissey. We need his principled leadership, his unwavering dedication, and his proven results and his proven effectiveness. So join me in supporting that fight for Patrick. Together we'll make sure that West Virginia remains the beacon of conservatism, not only here in West Virginia, but around the country, because everyone has eyes on us right now. There's a lot of growth coming. There's a lot of new things happening in West Virginia. We need a leader that will get out in front and help us with that progress. Thank you.
All right, next is candidate Mac Warner.
I've been married to the most wonderful woman, Debbie Warner, for 41 years. We will live in the governor's mansion. I will be the first to work every morning and the last to leave. That's what I've been doing as a Secretary of State. You honored me with electing me Secretary of State. I've cleaned up elections. We have moved West Virginia to the top in voter confidence. I've been asked to testify 4 times in front of Congress as to how we've successfully changed that culture here in West Virginia, and I've simply told them it's through the work of our county clerks and working with them. You see, that's what the Army taught me, is that teamwork concept. And that's what I will do. I will work with the legislature. I will work with the people of West Virginia. I'll work with the educators and solve the problems that are confronting this state. I'm the battle-tested, constitutional Christian conservative. Other people will talk about being fighters and battle-tested. Folks, NRA, VFW, American Legion, life member, all right, served in the, so that tells you where I stand on things such as the Second Amendment, right to life. Life begins at conception and ends at natural death. Those Republican Party planks are essential to the way I view life, but nothing more so than the Bible. So battle-tested, constitutional, I understand the law, WVU Law School, master's degree from the University of Virginia, constitutional, Christian, I've talked about the biblical values that steer my life, and then conservative. You see, conservative means what we've preserved from the past. It's our job to pass that on to the future, not to think that man has the solution to everything, but look to that higher being to understand right and wrong. We don't go down this path of wokeness. You see, this country is bleeding. Do you know what this is? This is a tourniquet. My son put these on every day he walked into battle in Afghanistan. Not just one, but 4 of them, one on each leg, so that if he got hit, all they had to do was start turning that thing. You are the tourniquet for the United States of America. You right here are the ones that showed up and care enough to listen to the candidates and make your informed decisions. Be ready. You're that tourniquet. We can solve the problems of West Virginia. We can solve this nation's country. It's not going down that woke road. I ask for your vote, your support. My name is Mac Warner. Thank you so much.
Next is candidate Mitch Roberts.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody that has listened to what I have said. Apparently, I'm not Mac. I've met more. I've met Chris once, Casey. I've never met Patrick Morrissey. That's how much I know about the guy. What I'll tell you is we have a race going on in the state of West Virginia for the Republican Party, and it's a 6-horse race, straight up. Now, the way I'm seeing things play out based on polls, this, that, and the other, they've basically said there's 2 horses in the race. The other 4 guys aren't going to finish. But with your help and your knowledge and researching the candidates and picking who you want, okay, pick who you want. I would love to have everybody in here's vote because they want me and think I can do what I can do. The fact is, if I sold you a car, you're going to buy it as is, where it is. There's no warranties, there's no guarantees, and that's just life. I won't make you promises I can't keep because I think that's the worst thing in the world. I think a person's word is the most important thing they have. And what I'll tell you is, if elected your governor, I will give you my word. I will do the best. I will not guarantee you anything. I will do my best to make it a better place for all West Virginians. Thank you.
As we get to our 2 last candidates of closing statements, I'm going to remind you that the Secretary of State, those candidates are next. If you have questions for the Secretary of State, please write those down, hold those up, and our runners will come and get them. All right, next to the podium is candidate Kevin Christian.
I hope I've answered the question in your mind about my plans and qualifications tonight. However, I understand that I'm a newcomer, and that makes me a chance and not a known. You guys are business people, and you know the calculus. You need to weigh taking a chance on me for fighting for the same old scraps from those guys. Maybe it's time for your CEO to think outside the box, or your governor. When I was in the Airborne, I was in a group and we were learning how to survive a near ambush, and I had the pleasure of training with a Charlie's Rangers from Vietnam. He was showing us how to survive that. Now, that was previously thought impossible to survive a near ambush, but this guy did it and he was telling us how. Now, the first thing he said, what you don't want to do is stand still. The only way to survive that is rush that firing line and pray you can get behind it. And West Virginia is standing still, and that's got to change. Besides, if you take a chance on me and I fail you, I plan to install a process where the citizens can fire the governor on demand through initiative and referendum processes. I promise I won't embarrass you on TV or bring those messy woke wars to your business's front doors. No suit, no tie, just skills and integrity. Vote for KC in the Republican primary in May. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, especially as a non-sponsored candidate. It's very hard to get your voice heard. So thank you as a vet for allowing me to speak, and have a good evening.
And last is candidate Moore Capito.
Well, thank you very much. And I would say if there's 2 words that you sort of leave with tonight that I would want you to hear from me, it would be thank you. Thank you for your service to your communities. Thank you for your time and being here this evening. I am Moore Capito. I'm the Get It Done conservative. And you may ask, what does that mean? Well, I like to say I'm the candidate in the race that's taken good ideas and turned them into good public policy. There's folks that I've worked with here in the legislature in installing the most conservative agenda in the history of the state of West Virginia. We're starting to see West Virginia get back on the right track. We have a lot of work to do. But this is about building relationships and getting things done and being able to govern, which I've certainly shown, I believe, an ability to do. And anybody who you talk to that has worked with me, I think would tell you that I'm a listener and I'm a doer. As I mentioned earlier, I'm also a lifelong West Virginian, 6th generation. I got 2 kids. And I can tell you I'm sure many of you can relate to this, that the story that they tell about us, the story that they tell about West Virginia outside these borders is not the story that we know it to be. It sets us short of the greatness that we have not only in this room, but throughout this entire state. In 2024, we have an incredible opportunity to recapture that narrative from a new generation of leadership that is no longer here anymore, but will stand from the rafters with a proud voice and represent you. I've driven 80,000 miles in this campaign throughout the state of West Virginia, and we ain't gonna stop. We've been everywhere more than once because I believe that the governor should be in the communities and with the people of West Virginia. I'm Moore Capito. I'm asking for your trust, and I'm asking for your vote. God bless you. Thank you.
All right, once again, thanks our governor candidates. Thank you so much. Again, let me remind you, if you have questions and you have submitted those questions, and maybe we didn't get a chance to answer or to ask that question, I do encourage you to stay around a little bit. If you can ask that question at a later date, that would be fantastic. Again, they want to answer them, so we appreciate that. Okay, please welcome to the stage the candidates for Secretary of State. All right. Our first candidate to the podium is candidate Doug Scaff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me. My name is Doug Scaff, running for Secretary of State. I'm from South Charleston, two-time graduate. I see your WVU, two-time graduate at WVU Business School. I'm proud father of 3, 7, 6, and 5. I'm a decent soccer coach, terrible basketball coach, but my boys love me no matter how good or bad they do. I'm blessed to serve in the legislature for 11 years. I had the proud privilege of traveling around this great country and encouraging people to come to West Virginia. And what do? We like to tell our story because we're proud of where we've come from. But you know why I'm running for Secretary of State? The Office of Secretary of State does 2 major things. The glamorous part is to be the Chief Elections Officer, right? Safe, secure, free elections for all. What do I know about that? Besides running for office a few times, not much. But guess who does? Our county clerks and their staff. We have an amazing staff. The current Secretary of State did a phenomenal job cleaning up the voter rolls. So what do I learn? My dad said, surround yourself with good people that know how to do their job better than you, and that's what I'll do as your Secretary of State when it comes to the elections. The election officer should be like a referee. Encourage people to vote. Get into the schools. Get our youth involved. Encourage our poll workers to stay engaged. The other part of the office, the business side of the office. Now, I do know a little something about that. That's what excites me. About 75% of that office is if Secretary of State is the chief business office. Think about it for a second. You register your business in West Virginia, you're the front door. You got to go through the Secretary of State's office to become a legit legal business in West Virginia. I got businesses of all sizes. I employ hundreds of West Virginians. I got a theater kind of similar to this with 3 employees called the LaBelle Theater in Little Old South Charleston. I run 13 newspapers across the state. I save newspapers. What's the yellow mean? Slow down or? Oh, 15 seconds? Oh, geez. I got to speak really fast then. The bottom line is I'm running for Secretary of State. My name is Doug Scaff, small business owner, proud West Virginian, father of 3. Give me an opportunity to put people a chance in place to succeed, be proud of themselves, and stay here in West Virginia and do what they do best. Thank you.
All right, next is candidate Chris Warner.
My name's Chris Warner. I'm running as a candidate for the Secretary of State position as a Republican. I was appointed by President Trump to serve as his state director for rural development and served all 4 years of his administration. I currently serve under Governor Justice as the West Virginia Economic Development Authority Executive Director. I've had an opportunity to work with Commissioner Gary Cole, Commissioner Chapman, and Commissioner Cole to help bring the resources necessary to keep SMR here in Nicholas County and also to purchase the equipment for Appalachian Stave. It's been one of the highlights of my time at EDA. My wife Joyce and I just celebrated 35 years of marriage. We've raised 5 adult children. All have attended the United States Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs. I would tell you that my entire family has a heart for public service. Prior to my government service, though, I worked with my brother Mac, and after he retired from the military, and we took an old building just like this one in Kaiser, the old Kaiser High School, and we built a business and enterprise center there. Then we did it with 2 more buildings in Morgantown, and then we did it with the old hospital in Philippi, and we attracted over 200 businesses that employed over 1,000 employees. So I know a little bit about private enterprise as well. In addition to my private enterprise time, I've spent my time building the Republican Party in West Virginia. I was elected as a county chairman in Monongalia County. I was then elected as the state chairman of the West Virginia Republican Party. I served 5 years and then was elected a Republican National Committee man. I would tell you that I've recruited conservative Republican candidates my entire life. I look forward to answering questions when we have time. Thank you.
Next is candidate Brian Wood.
Good evening. I'm Brian Wood, candidate for Secretary of State on the Republican ticket. This primary, you have 3 choices. You can vote for money, you can vote for a last name, or you can vote for experience. It is my hope that you will vote for experience. What do I mean by experience? I am currently the county clerk in Putnam County. I'm in my 4th term as county clerk. That means 20 years of experience managing a public office, managing employees in different sectors, managing elections to keep your election safe and secure. When Secretary Warner gets up here and talks about the 55 county clerks, I'm one of those 55 county clerks keeping your voter rolls safe, secure, and clean. I'm not the typical statewide politician. I come from the county level where the rubber meets the road. And I ask that you all consider me as your next Secretary of State. I will promise you that I will not run for governor, and I promise you I will not run for Congress. I want to be your Secretary of State to be your Secretary of State. I feel this is my wheelhouse. I feel that my heart's in the right place, and I feel that I have the experience to move that office forward. As county clerk, I served as the president of the County Clerks Association, so I have relationships with all 55 county clerks. Mr. Painter here in Nicholas County is one of my good friends. That relationship, along with serving as the liaison between the Secretary of State's office and the legislature as the county clerk, president of the County Clerks Association, will help me move the office forward because I know the team in place right now. So I can hit the ground running from day one. When it comes to the business side of things, yes, it is a bigger portion of the office, but basically that's managing people. That's managing a team and make sure you have a next man up or next person up mentality in that if Susie retires, Johnny knows what's going on, so that way your questions are answered and we don't have red tape when it comes to you registering your business. But I'm on the red, so I'll be quiet and sit down. You all have a great day.
Let me encourage you, if you have questions and you don't get them answered or they don't get asked from up top here on stage, that we do have a meet and greet. It's kind of an informal thing. It's kind of after, so we do encourage you to do so. Do ask you to keep your side conversations just to a minimum. That way we can respect all of those that are coming to the podium. This particular venue has a lot of hard surfaces, doesn't it? And that sound bounces around, so just make sure that you're aware of that. Now, I feel like those Secretary of State candidates, they knocked their opening statements, they knocked them out of the park because we don't have any questions for them. So they must have said everything that they needed to say in those opening statements. So I tell you what, we're going to move right along to our closing statements. The first one is going to be candidate Brian Wood.
Should just stayed up here, huh? So what do you get when you vote for Brian Wood? You get a faith-based man who's been married for 22 years and has 2 children. You get a lifelong West Virginian. You get a 2-term magistrate and a 4-term county clerk. You get 26 years of public office management and 20 years of election management. I'm asking you to go out of the norm, vote for somebody that can hit the ground running from day one. I'm a lifelong Republican, and I'm a lifelong conservative, and I am on the Republican ticket since this is a primary, so that way everybody knows, because I know we're in a mixed crowd here. But I appreciate the time and opportunity. Thank you for listening to me. I'll be here afterwards. If anybody has any questions or concerns, please feel free to look me up. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Please knock on wood in May.
Cool. All right, next candidate is Chris Warner.
Again, my name's Chris Warner. I'm a lifelong conservative Republican. I am prepared to build upon the foundation built by our current Secretary of State, Mac Warner. He has removed over 400,000 names from our voter rolls. That's 400,000 opportunities for fraud to occur. We are going to continue to have people die, move out of state, be convicted felons, those that are ineligible to vote in our elections. So that needs to continue to have, you need to have a Secretary of State that will stand up and continue to work with the 55 county clerks to remove those names from the voter rolls so that our elections are safe, secure, honest, and fair. I'm also proud to report in closing that I've been endorsed just this last week by the West Virginians for Life, the West Virginia Farm Bureau, oil and gas workers, the Brooke County Republican Executive Committee, the Webster County Republican Executive Committee, several county commissioners, and delegates. But none of those endorsements is nearly as important as yours on May 14th. I would greatly appreciate your vote and support. Please let your family and friends know what you've heard here this evening. Thank you.
Next is candidate Doug Scaff.
Thanks again. Thanks for hosting this. Phenomenal job. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to put West Virginians first. 3 things I want you to remember. We got to stop illegals from coming into America, and especially West Virginia, and taking our jobs and voting illegally. Number 2, we need to focus on West Virginia principles, keep federal overreach out of our local elections. Number 3, when I say put West Virginians first, I mean let's put the small businesses who are the backbone of this state that make up 3/4 of all businesses in West Virginia. When we have budget surpluses, I was one that stood up and tried to offer an amendment and said, let's give that money back to the taxpayers. Let's give that money back to West Virginians. That's where the money came from. It should stay here first. We want to continue to give hand up, not a hand out. I'll say it again. Hand up to people in need, but not a hand out. We got to get people back on their feet, give them a chance to be successful so they feel good about themselves. As your Secretary of State, I know what it's like to run successful businesses of all sizes. I know what it's like to raise 3 amazing boys. I'm a proud West Virginian product, and like you, I think our better days are ahead. And together, we can make West Virginia wild, wonderful, and free for all. So remember me, Doug Scaff, your candidate for Secretary of State. God bless you all. Have a great night.
And once again, thank you for the Secretary of State candidates. Appreciate that. Next to the stage is running for auditor. And I want to welcome candidate Eric Householder.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you to Nicholas County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. My name's Eric Householder, and I'm running for state auditor because I believe it's time to stop fraud and corruption in West Virginia. Fraud and corruption siphons away valuable taxpayer dollars from our roads, from our schools, from our seniors and veterans programs. Also, fraud and corruption erodes the public's trust in government, and it's happening across all levels of government, and you, the taxpayer, should be mad because it is theft of your money. So let me give you a few examples. Several months ago, a DHHR official was indicted for approving over $34 million in COVID-19 payments and didn't review a single invoice. In Berkeley County, where I live, an assistant deputy clerk was found guilty of embezzling over $300,000 of your money. In Logan County, a volunteer fire department chief and his son was found guilty of embezzling over $55,000 of your money. And the list goes on and on and on. When you elect me, I'll make sure that every dollar goes exactly to what the legislature and the voters approved. And If I find someone who's stealing from the taxpayers, I'm going to set a record of sending corrupt government officials to jail, and we're going to get our money back, period. Now, when I talk to people about the role of the auditor, a lot of people really don't understand what the auditor does. But the most important job that the auditor can do is to hold state and local governments accountable. The auditor is the watchdog of the taxpayers' money. Now, no other agency in state government has more power to investigate everything. Every tax dollar that goes to your local county school, every tax dollar that goes to some government agency that no one's watching closely, every tax dollar that someone tries to use for fraudulent purposes. I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be watching and holding people accountable. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric Householder, and I would hope that I can gain your support May 14th.
Thank you very much. Now, again, this is a unique scenario because usually we dismiss those candidates to have a seat, but I'm actually just going to keep him right there. And just like the others, he knocked that opening statement out of the park. No questions? So we'll move right along to his closing statements. So again, candidate Eric Householder.
All right, thanks once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always felt that taxpayers deserve and demand a leader who is willing to stand up and fight for them. My platform is all about taxpayers first. Back here on the back table is a handout. If you take a look at the handout, there's 3 things that I want to accomplish. Number 1 is transparency. It is a top priority to provide you, the taxpayers, clear and accessible information. Number 2, I will rigorously audit government spending. Now is the time to audit all state agencies because it's your money and you deserve and demand accountability. And number 3, I'm going to root out fraud and corruption. Now, I tell people I'm running on a record of results. I have a wealth of experience in financial management and accounting. I'm the only conservative candidate in this race with the experience. So let me tell you a little bit about my private life and my public life. In my private life, the Lord has blessed me beyond belief, gave me a beautiful wife, 3 children, and 5 grandchildren. I've been a small business owner for over 34 years. I know what it's like to make payroll, to create jobs, and to run a small business. In my public life, I'm currently your House Majority Leader. I was your House Finance Chairman for 4 years, and I think it's important that I point out that I've led the way with conservative policies that played a key role in moving West Virginia forward. For example, number 1, I eliminated a lot of the out-of-control spending throughout the whole entire budget process that saved you millions of dollars from tax increases. Number 2, I was one of the key architects of the flatline budget, the record budget surpluses, and your record-breaking tax cuts of over $800 million, and we put ourselves on a path to eliminate the personal income tax in West Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Eric Householder. I'm a proven leader. I'm a proven conservative. I'm a proven watchdog of the taxpayers' money. And I want you to say and remember Householder until it becomes a household name, okay, if you do that for me. And then I get asked this question all the time. Householder, are you a MAGA Republican? And the answer is yes, absolutely. I want to make auditing great again. So with that, I hope to gain your support on May 14th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I just want to remind you for questions of different offices that are coming up. I want the Commissioner of the Agriculture, those candidates to start making their way. We have the Intermediate Court of Appeals and House of Delegates coming up. So if you have questions for any of those offices, please write that question down. Make sure we know what office they are for. Hold those things up and our runners will get there. Okay, so let's begin with Commissioner of Agriculture. Our first candidate is Mr. Kent Lionheart.
Thank you. I'm Kent Lionheart, your current Commissioner of Agriculture, and I'm here to tell you what we've been doing at the Department of Agriculture for the last almost 8 years, and to ask for your vote to keep me there as your Commissioner for one more term. We have transformed the Department of Agriculture tremendously over the last 7.5 years, but we've got a lot more work to do. In fact, the most important figure that you're going to hear tonight is that agricultural production has increased to $947 million per year. When I took office, it was in the 700s. Agriculture is growing in the state of West Virginia. Red meat production is up 51%. We have 57% more sales to retail markets that are going out to for retail sales. Agriculture is growing. We are shortening that distance from where our food is grown to where it's consumed, and we're creating jobs at the same time. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Marine Corps. I led men and women in peace and war for almost 21 years. I retired at the rank of lieutenant colonel with a combat action ribbon, Legion of Merit, and 8 other personal decorations. My wife and I took an abandoned West Virginia farm and restored it. We started with 205 acres. The farm had been abandoned in 1957, and we grew it to 380 acres that we currently own and 6 other leases. I'm so busy right now, we just run the 380 acres. I would love another chance to continue the great work we're doing, and I know you'll probably have some questions and some other things going on. I don't want to see a red card. Thank you all very much. Kent Leonhardt, your current Commissioner of Agriculture.
Next is candidate Roy Ramsey.
Hello, my name is Roy Ramey, and I'm running for Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of West Virginia. Who is Roy Ramey? Well, first of all, I'm a Christian, and the Christian values basically guide and run my life. I'm also a proud husband and father. I've been married for almost 20 years to my wife, and my daughter is homeschooled, and we're heavily involved in all the homeschool activities to include a large co-op where I teach in that. I'm also a veteran. I spent 33 years in the Army. I started off as a private at the bottom and worked my way up, crossing over to the officer side, and eventually becoming a lieutenant colonel before I retired at 33 years. I'm the only candidate who has been a commander in combat, and that combat experience is going to shape and guide everything that I do in this office, and has given me a unique perspective to see things that you don't necessarily see in every other day life. I'm also a regenerative farmer. So I put that practice into use. I learned those skills from Joel Salatin several years ago, and basically I operate in a similar manner to Polyface Farm, and to just do it on a smaller scale right here in West Virginia. I think we've got entirely way too many regulations. I came back from an active duty tour, and I saw that the regulations were just unbearable, and there was no good reason to have it. Those regulations are meant to help big industrial farms, and I think we saw a few years ago what that gets us. Now, we've actually lost 1,122 farms in West Virginia under the current administration, and that's just not sustainable. We've lost 162,000 acres of farmland, and that's also not sustainable. I think that we can do better than that. If we cut the regulations, we'll be able to encourage more people to start farms again, get young people into farms, and get them going and produce food for our local communities. And I appreciate that, and look forward to your vote.
And my apologies, candidate Ramey, for the pronunciation of your last name. All right, this question is for both of you. Other states allow citizens to forest farming in national forest. Why isn't West Virginia allowing this opportunity? And if given that opportunity, what can you do to bring that opportunity to West Virginia? First candidate to the stage is candidate Roy Ramey.
Hey, thank you. Yes, West Virginia has an enormous amount of forests, and I think we should capitalize on that, both private and public forests. There's a lot of people that are looking for land here, and one of the things that we can do in our public forests is tap it for maple. West Virginia has 10 times the capacity of maple syrup as Vermont. A lot of people are surprised by that, but why shouldn't we capitalize on that? There's a lot of people who have farms near and bordering those areas, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to make use of that. It's just a matter of, again, cutting the regulations, and we let people go in and forest, cut down a tree altogether. Why shouldn't we allow them to tap it and be able to take some of that product and be able to sell it as a good West Virginia product? There's a lot of things that we can do with medicinal herbs such as ginseng, yellow root, and a whole lot of other stuff, and make that available as a product and help people get into farming as well. So thank you very much.
All right, next is candidate Kent Leonhardt.
Well, I'd like to say that maple syrup is a great product for the state of West Virginia, and it tastes a whole lot better than Vermont's. Since I've been in the Commissioner of Agriculture, maple syrup production has doubled in the state of West Virginia. We jumped right on that from day one. We helped with the Maple Syrup Producers Association. We sell cotton candy, maple cotton candy at the State Fair, and we've even exported maple sugar since I've been Commissioner of Agriculture. There's an awful lot of things going on in the Department of Agriculture, and the forest farming is one of them. But also you have to realize that the ginseng and the yellow root and those type of things are regulated by the Department of Natural Resources. And I work very closely with the Department of Natural Resources to achieve many of those things and those outcomes that you're looking on. If you've got a specific question or a specific thing that you want to work on, I'd be more than happy to entertain that and get with the relationships that I've built over in the DNR to expand that resource.
All right. Moving to our closing statements, back to the stage, Mr. Commissioner Kent Lionheart.
Thank you again for having this forum today. It's so important that everybody gets involved. A little bit more about myself. I have been married to my wife almost 40 years, and she has stood by me through war, peace, and building a farm from scratch. We've got a great working relationship, and we do everything together. It's clear who the farmers want to be and continue as the Commissioner of Agriculture by receiving the endorsement of the West Virginia Farm Bureau. They're the voice of the farmers in the state of West Virginia. And to correct one thing, I led a 68-man special intelligence team during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And every one member of that team received a combat action ribbon. So we've been battle tested, and when COVID hit, I know West Virginia did a whole lot better than the rest of the states surrounding us, because my team worked tirelessly to make sure we kept our grocery stores fed. We hired more meat inspectors and brought more meat out. We did not dump any raw milk. In fact, I got weight restrictions lifted so we could bring more raw milk into the state and had it processed to make sure that our shelves were full and milk and our children and our families had it. We brought in trade mitigation dollars from President Trump to get the food to the people that lost their jobs and needed to eat. We did not euthanize any hogs like many other states had to do. In fact, we brought thousands of hogs in and made sure that they were healthy and safe. And we brought them in, and we were able to help keep food on the shelves in the families. We also did not euthanize any poultry like many other states did, and we worked very hard to keep our poultry industry in operation. West Virginia has done great under COVID. West Virginia has done great under Kent Leonard as the Commissioner of Agriculture, and we've done it on a budget equivalent to 2008. Folks, that's good government. I want to continue that good government and lead the way in bringing those jobs. My peers have elected me to be the president of the Southern Association of State Departments of Agriculture, and I'm currently vice president of the Southern U.S. Trade Association for bringing in foreign trade. I'd appreciate your support. We're getting the word out there to the world about West Virginia agriculture. Thank you.
Okay, and candidate Roy Ramey.
Hey, again, I'm Roy Ramey, and I'm here running for Commissioner of Agriculture for the state. I have the experience as a regenerative farmer in West Virginia, and I intend to use all of that experience to bring to the office. I'm not a professional bureaucrat or a politician. I'm the guy that's going to get it done. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm going to get it done. See the pattern there? Now, I'm happy to be endorsed by Joel Salatin of Polyface Farm. He was one of my mentors and teachers, and he knows that I can get it done. I'm also happy to be endorsed by Congressman Thomas Massie. He's a wonderful food freedom advocate, and he knows that I can get it done. And I'm also happy to be endorsed by one of your own right here in the community, business leader, Rodney LaRose, because he knows that I can get it done. And I appreciate if you guys will help elect me so that I can get it done to grow farming in West Virginia. Food freedom. Thank you.
All right, and thank you once again to our candidates for the Commissioner of Agriculture. Next to the stage is running for position of Intermediate Court of Appeals, candidate Elgin McCarty.
Well, good evening, and thank you everybody for having us here. Thank you for putting on this event. It's always good to spread the news of the Intermediate Court of Appeals. Show of hands, how many people here know about the Intermediate Court of Appeals? Thought so. Okay, so the Intermediate Court of Appeals is a statewide election. It's the court immediately below the West Virginia Supreme Court. It was established by the legislature in 2021. It was filled by Governor Justice with 3 justices, and in 2022, the court started taking appeals. In 2024, it'll be the first election, which is probably why people don't know what the Intermediate Court of Appeals is. So there are 3 justices that sit on the court currently. One of them was appointed for a 2-year term, another for a 4-year term, and another for a 6-year term. The term of the Intermediate Court of Appeals is actually 10 years. They were staggered by the legislature, so there will never be a vacancy and a need to fill all 3 slots at the same time. One of those positions, the 2-year position, the individual chose not to run, and so it is an open seat, and that is why I'm running. Now, what is the Intermediate Court of Appeals and what does it hear? The Supreme Court hears all cases dealing with abuse and neglect and criminal cases. Those go directly from the circuit court to the Supreme Court. The Intermediate Court of Appeals hears everything else. So administrative cases, guardianship cases, family law cases, civil cases, workers' comp cases. Those are the cases that are currently heard by the Intermediate Court of Appeals, and it was designed basically so that people would have more access to the judicial system. Prior to the establishment of the Intermediate Court of Appeals, you had to petition to have a case heard before the Supreme Court. Only if the Supreme Court agreed to hear your case were you able to appeal any decisions below. So this is very important. Why is it important, and why should you consider choosing me to run or choosing me to fill this slot? I have 30 years of experience as an attorney. I'm licensed in West Virginia, Virginia, and Ohio. I actively practice in all 3 states. I started as a federal prosecutor. I then went into a corporate law firm who also handled workers' comp cases, and I have practiced family law for the past 25 years. What is important about that? Family law hears 1/3 of the cases that are the Intermediate Court of Appeals hears. So 1/3 of those cases are heard currently by justices who have not practiced family law. I am the only candidate in this case, in this race that actually has practiced actively in family law. I know I'm the only candidate up here, so I'll field any questions if there were any, and then I'll close up.
Excellent. She just took right off with that, huh? We should have just gave her the opening and the closing and maybe even the middle. Excellent. A great education on knowing that. So as there are no questions, well, let's just enter into your closing statement,
Okay,
if that's
perfect.
okay.
So I am also a longtime Republican. This is a nonpartisan race. You are not going to see R's, D's, or basically parties on the ballot, so you're going to have to remember my name. How do you remember my name? Elgin Heceta McCardle. Elgin, Illinois. Elgin, Baylor. Elgin, the watch. Elgin, the street cleaner. I don't care how you remember it. My name is Elgin. Unique name. My parents were bored when I was born. I'm named after my 2 grandmothers. Elsie, the EL comes from Elsie. Hanessa was my other grandmother's name, and it's spelled Ginesa. So my parents were bored. Elsie and Hanessa became Elgin, and that's me. So remember Elgin. A little bit about me, longtime Republican. I am 60 years old. I've been registered Republican for 42 years. So I've been Republican all my life. I am the immediate past chair of the West Virginia State Party. Thank you, Benjean, for your support. I am endorsed by the West Virginians for life. I'm endorsed by the West Virginia State Party. I'm endorsed by the Brooke County Republicans. Most importantly, I don't know, for you strong Republicans out there, I'm also endorsed by Harmeet Dillon. I also protected the ballot. My probably biggest case in support of the Republicans is that I defended the West Virginia State Party's right and Donald Trump's right to be on the ballot. I was part of the legal team that kept him on the ballot, and I filed former President Donald Trump's paperwork with the Secretary of State when he filed. I am a proud mother of 3 biological children, married to my husband of 33 years. I say 3 biological because I've raised 7. I had 4 exchange students, all during their high school years, so I'm very proud of that. My biggest accomplishment are my 3 kids. My oldest one is pursuing her PhD at UMass Amherst in sports management. My second son is an anesthesiologist doing his residency at Ruby. And my third and youngest and most, challenging, also works for, stayed here in West Virginia, works for the West Virginia Attorney General's office as an auditor in their Medicaid fraud division. So proudest of that. Strong Republican, ask you to remember my name, Elgin McCardle, and hope for your support on May 14th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Elgin McCardle, for Intermediate Court of Appeals. All right, now I ask for our House of Delegate candidates to come forward to the stage. Once again, I want to remind you of questions. If you have those questions, please write those questions down on those papers, hold those things up, and get it. We do have some snacks in the back. It's a good time maybe to get up and grab a snack, grab some water. You're more than welcome to. There are restrooms towards the back also. So we got an evening full of candidates. So. All right. Let's get ready for our opening statements for House of Delegates. First to the podium, candidate Stanley Adkins.
Good evening, I am Stanley Adkins. I'm glad to be back in this auditorium. I went to school here. My name's out there in one of those pictures in class of 1967, and I see some others here. I do remember my mother went here. She's in class of 44. All my kids went here, my brothers, my sisters. So we have a long history right here in this building. I will say it looks great. One of the reasons I want to run is because I love this community. I love this county. In fact, I love this high school and this building, and I think they've done an amazing job. So if you are from Nicholas County, you've either bought something from me or I've sold you something. Our family is in Adkins Coal, Adkins Oil, Adkins Lumber, Adkins Chevrolet, Adkins CPAs, and the quilt shop. That's my sister. Obviously, she got no advice of how to name her business. But we've been in business here for 70 years. And so if you would like to ask me any questions later, I'll be here and what I stand for and what I don't stand for. But if you can see your way through to voting for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Next is candidate Tom Clark.
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks to the Summerville Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. My name is Tom Clark, and I'm running for the House of Delegates in the 48th, which takes care of half of Nicholas, all of Webster, and a little bit of Greenbrier County. I currently hold that seat in the House of Delegates. I was placed there by Governor Justice on January the 15th after the resignation of Delegate Caleb Hanna. I live in Webster Springs. I've been married 49 years. That makes me the oldest married guy up here. Okay, I have 2 daughters and 7 grandkids. I spent almost 40 years in the coal industry. I started out just as a normal coal miner, ended up doing electrical work. I was a supervisor, and then I moved to the dark side and became a federal mine inspector. And I was the supervisor in the Summersville office, the Mount Hope office, and I retired from the United States Mine Academy as a manager out there. During my mining industry years, I also owned 2 businesses in Webster Springs. I owned the 2 newspapers, the Webster Echo and the Webster Republican. I owned the Exxon distributorship in Cherry Falls for over 30 years. I've served on numerous county boards, PSDs, Hospital Board, Camp Caesar Board, EDA Board, and all those boards have given me a great advantage to know what's going on in my county and my area. I have a broad background in business, in the industry, just in general in economic development as I've traveled the state and seen what's going on. So, That's why I'm running. I think there's real issues in my county, in that part of Nicholas County is about like Webster County. You know, we're struggling in Richwood, we're struggling in Webster County, and Greenbrier's struggling too over in the Quinwood area because of lack of coal. So that's why I'm running. I'd love to have your vote, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Next is candidate Devin Spinks.
Hello, everyone. I stand before you as a proud son of West Virginia. Hi, I'm Devin Spinks, and I'm the candidate for the 48th House District of West Virginia. I decided to run for this office because of my strong influence in education. I'm an educator. I teach our students every single day of how to be great young people. Everyone on here is going to talk about their children. I have them beat. I have about 135 this year, 135 last year, so my numbers are a little higher. I see the challenges in education every day. I see what our children need, our problems today, and our problems tomorrow. I believe that I'm the best candidate for this office. There are a couple other things aside from education that I believe West Virginia needs. First and foremost, education. I'm going to talk about that a lot. But secondly, infrastructure. West Virginia is behind the times in broadband access and our roads and bridge infrastructure. We must invest in these areas in order for businesses and industry and union jobs to return to West Virginia. And third, we have to address the opioid crisis. This is something that no candidate today has really talked about. The opioid crisis is one we must address. We have all of this money coming into our counties. We have to spend it wisely. I believe there are 3 ways to do that. 1, start prevention programs in our schools. 2, have recovery programs for those who need it, and treatment programs for those who want to seek treatment. We need to expand the idea of syringe exchange programs. Those folks are 5% more likely to receive treatment, and women are 10% more likely. I stand before you humbled, and I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to stand before you. Thank you so much. My name is Devin Spinks, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Next is candidate Heather Tully.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting us, and thank you, Jason, for emceeing as always. My name is Heather Tully. I am the incumbent delegate running for the position again in the 49th District. I am a nurse of 22 years. I was an intensive care nurse in Charleston for 14, and I am a dual board certified nurse practitioner that practices here in Nicholas County with one of our FQHCs today doing school-based health. I'm married to my husband, Lawrence Tully, and we have 5 beautiful grandchildren, ages 13, 12, 11, 8, and 7, that all live here in Nicholas County. They live in Mount Nebo. They are probably one of the primary reasons that I have ran for office before, because I want to ensure a better future for them. I am a member of the Nicholas County Republican Executive Committee. I am the vice chair of House Health. I also am very proud of some of the accomplishments that we have made since in my 4 years in the legislature. The largest income tax cut in state history. The largest phase out of state Social Security tax for those seniors and elderly folks that is coming up in history. We have seen the greatest expansion of economic development projects in West Virginia in many years. Nucor, Green Motor Power, Berkshire Hathaway, Rockwool, LG, supported all of the aerospace industries there in Clarksburg, which include Lockheed Martin as well as Pratt Whitney. We have actually seen Mountaintop Beverage come to Morgantown, which is an agricultural operation. We have seen a new coal mine, Nicholas Conterra Rolling Thunder, come here. So there have been many, many things that we have expanded upon and really worked on economic development. I would be very remiss if I didn't mention our endeavors in tourism, including the new Summersville State Park that is coming. My name is one of 4 names that is actually a sponsor of that bill. Of course, we have worked on broadband expansion, and it does still need some work, but we have actually put a lot of money into that. Water sewer development and multiple other things such as child care, working to make sure that we invest in our education system, working to repeal red tape so that it is easier for workers to get licensed here in West Virginia. Those are all things that are important to me. I think I am the right person for the job. I have worked hard over the last 4 years. I am committed, and I am ready to go back to Charleston and continue these endeavors.
Okay, our first question for the candidates for House of Delegates is, what value do you place on collaborating with local leaders? The first to the podium is candidate Tom Clark.
Well, when I left the legislature, I left as president of the county commission. So I know how important it is to collaborate with all the county commissioners in the district as well as across the state. I've been to, already, just as your delegate in the 48th, I've been to the Richwood City Council meetings to see what's going on, the Webster Springs City Council meetings, the Cowan City Council meetings, and I've been to the Webster County County Commission meeting to work with them, but I've worked with Gary and Garrett and Mr. Chapman as well on the phone, not just prior, also prior, but while I've been a delegate. So it's probably one of the most important things you can do as a delegate is know what's going on in your community, and these guys are the ones that can tell you.
Okay. Next, candidate Devin Spinks.
Our communities are our life point, not just our leaders, but the folks sitting here in this room. You all are our community leaders. We need not only to look at those who are elected in and those who are appointed, we also need to be looking at those of you who are sitting in this room, those of you who are not in this room. Having a person and a point of contact in every single area of our community is essential. As a candidate, I have traveled around Nicholas, Webster, and Greenbrier counties just to start making friends, making people, seeing people, to let them know I'm here for them. I'm your elected leader. I'm your candidate who wants to be out in your communities. So please, think about that.
Next is candidate Heather Tully.
I believe that collaboration with your other community leaders is very important. I maintain a very good relationship with our Summersville mayor, Mr. Robert Schaefer. I have excellent relationships with our two state senators, Vince Deeds and Jack David Woodrum. It is not unusual to see me collaborate with one or the other of the county commissioners or all three of them at any given time. Doesn't mean we always see everything eye to eye or agree on everything, but we do maintain a level of civility, which I do appreciate. I have worked with our local health department in fact, I was the only legislator that attended the information session prior to me going down for legislative session to listen to their needs. Most people know that they can call or text me with anything or email, and I will definitely respond. And so I try to maintain a lot of different relationships within the community. Our 4-H leaders are also leaders. Our leaders of some of the sports teams, our leaders of some of the schools. So I have really worked hard to try to maintain some of those relationships. Thanks.
Next is candidate Stanley Adkins.
Well, all politics is local. When I was the mayor, I made some promises I'd get us a senior citizen center. I called up Governor Cecil Underwood. He said, come on down. He said, if you can find $75,000 in your community, I'll write you a $75,000 check. We got a senior citizen center just from that kind of interaction. When I heard they was wanting to replace the Braxton County Armory, a friend of mine, Alan Tackett, General Tackett, I called him. He said, if you can find the money, I called Larry Tucker, great public servant. I called Shirley Love, me, Steve Ferguson, Sidney Valentine, flew to Washington, D.C., talked to Robert Byrd. He said, I'll get you an earmark for $9 million. We got our armory. All of those things can happen only with interaction with locals, with states and federals. There's nothing can be done alone. I can name you lots of things that were done in this town while I was the mayor, but I didn't do any of them myself. We got the armory, we got the senior citizen center, we got a new water plant, we got a new sewer plant, we got the hydro, we got the Brown House, we went to City Hall. None of those things would have been done without connections with everybody, our county commission, our representatives, our senators. Those are all collaborations. I don't have the power to do anything alone, and nor does anybody here. Everything has to be done with relationships, and those relationships have to be built upon trust, understanding. But the one thing that's got to be done, in my opinion, is put Nicholas County first as far as we go. I mean, it is really nice what happens in our state, but what's important to us is Nicholas County, Summersville, Richwood, Clay Creek, down Route 39, water, sewer, whatever we get jobs is for here. So I think all of those things are through interreactions with other community servants. Thank you.
Okay, next question. It's for all candidates, but the question is, what are your ideas on how to recruit and retain nurses and healthcare workers in our area? First to the podium is candidate Devin Spinks.
West Virginia ranks of the last in healthcare. In order to recruit and retain those employees, we must first assure that they have the infrastructure necessary to provide care. They have the need and the want to come to West Virginia. All of us in this room know how great West Virginia is. I myself, a lifelong West Virginian. In order for us to continue and retain and attract these folks, we have to assure they have a living wage, a good community to live in, and a great school system for their children. Those things are what we need to do to build West Virginia up and move West Virginia forward.
Next is candidate Heather Tully.
So when you talk about healthcare and you talk about nursing, recruitment is one concept, but retention is another. And I think one of the places our facilities have struggled is with the retention of their experienced staff. And I think that really is going to have to come forth with a change sometimes in the way that leadership probably addresses their work environment. I think they need to be treated as valuable employees. I feel as though sometimes, and I was a bedside nurse 14 years, and nurses just want to go to work, be able to take care of a manageable patient load and do a good job at taking care of their patients and feel a sense of accomplishment when they come home and feel like they can do their job safely. And so I think it's going to take a change sometimes from those that are in administrative positions, seeing the value of their experienced nurses, not letting their experienced nurses go, listening to their voices. Recruitment, we have put a ton of money into educational endeavors and offering opportunities, scholarships, retention bonuses for the new nurses. And I think that's fantastic. We need new nurses as well. But we also have to value the voice of experience at the bedside. And I think that if we could keep those individuals and keep those individuals mentoring new nurses, we could retain a lot of our nurses and not having them hemorrhage outside the borders of West Virginia. Thank you.
Next is candidate Stanley Adkins.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure. I didn't even know there was a problem retaining nurses. I mean, from my point of view, our healthcare in this community, and I was at WVU Hospital for a while, is great. I've been to Summersville Memorial Hospital. I'm very proud of it. I think it's a great hospital. You know, I think Camden Clinic has done a great job in this community. Out to state, I think the new educational opportunities for nurses is fantastic. You know, our LPNs, our RNs, you know, I was controller of our hospital for years up in Summersville, and I was on their board for 8 years. You know, I'm proud of the medical service. My brother-in-law, Dr. Robert Fleer, was the director of the emergency room up there for 40 years. Probably saved a lot of lives in here, including me. So whatever we can do if we do have nursing shortages, I think we're addressing that with more education. And it seems like to me that would be a problem for the hospitals. If we're going to do anything as a state representative, it would be let's provide more education, let's provide more opportunities, more scholarships, more promises to get these kids to go, and then once they're educated, get them that good job. You know, I do lots of tax returns in this community, and I see lots of nurses W-2s. They do really well, and but maybe they need to do better. These people are the lifeblood of our community. So I would say, you know, maybe I'm uninformed, but You know, if nursing, if our medical facilities are having trouble getting nurses, it's usually money, it's usually hours, it's usually how they treat them, like Heather said. You know, how do they interact with them? You know, she's much more of an expert than I on this, and so I would, if I had a question, I'd probably go to her, you know, because medical professionals are the people we need to talk to, and I'm not one of those, but I would say educate them.
Next is candidate Tom Clark.
I was fortunate enough to sit on the hospital board in Webster County for several years, and you know, it is a problem. It's better now than it was because we've got colleges like Glenville State University have a new nursing program getting ready, just wide open. We're looking at high schools now are putting nursing programs in their vocational systems. So I think that we're headed in the right direction to get new nurses. Retaining nurses, we've got to make sure they got good working atmosphere. We don't try to kill them working them 14, 15 hours a day. They've got good facilities working. We're fortunate in Webster County, we're getting ready to get a new hospital, hopefully. Don't know when that is, can't get a date on that, but the signs are up and the promises are there to build a new hospital. I think when that happens as well, new facilities draw good nurses, draw good staff. And I'm going to add one last thing to it. I think we've got to clean our communities up to invite these people here. You know, if we want people to come back in here and stay in here, we've got to clean these communities up to where they're attractive, not only for nurses, but all kinds of vocations.
All right, thank you. Let me remind you as we get ready to enter into our closing statements for our House of Delegates, if you have questions for the Nicholas Circuit Judge, they are coming up next. So if you have those questions, please pin those things down, hold them up, and our runners will get it. All right, let's move on to our closing remarks from the House of Delegates. First up is candidate Heather Tully.
As I stated, I am Heather Tully. I am the incumbent delegate running for the House of Delegates in the 49th District. I am a nurse, a Nana, and a no-nonsense leader. I know what it takes to get it done. I have the healthcare background as well as a diverse background that brings a consummate set of skills to the position. I am in positions with in leadership, sitting as the vice chair of health. I have great relationships with my leaders there at the legislature, and I'd like to maintain those relationships because those relationships are also crucial to being able to get your legislation to move forward and to get things done. I am Heather Tully. I am running for the West Virginia House of Delegates, and I would appreciate your vote in May. Thank you.
Next is candidate Devin Spinks.
I'm a teacher, so I'm going to make you move. Everybody stand up for a minute. Just stand up. We need to stretch, right? Need to stretch. I've sat down there. I couldn't do it for much longer, so I don't know how you all did it. I want you to look around you. There are folks in your community that you probably haven't met before. They're out here tonight wanting to be active in our community. Thank them, and thank you. You can have a seat whenever you're ready. I always say stand longer, but I humbly ask you for my vote for the House of Delegates, 48th House District. I'm an educator. I'm someone who is in the classroom every day. I see the problems of today, the problems of tomorrow, and I have one wish to move West Virginia forward. But it starts with you. It starts with your voice, your vote, and your initiative to get out into your communities and vote. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
Next is candidate Tom Clark.
Again, thank you for having us tonight. We absolutely have to work harder on economic development. We have to work on better education for our children. We have to make our schools safer. And we have to take better care of our seniors and our veterans. And those are all on my agenda, folks. And you know, we know there's problems in our community that are facing us every day. We see the backpackers, the druggies, the people that we have to dodge on the highway. We have to make sure our laws are enforced. We have to create new laws if we can, if we can, to address this situation. And last, I've got to add this because we face it every day. We got to get our jail bills under control. We face jail bills, our county commissioners in here, our legislators, we have to get them under control. We got to continue to put people in jail, but we got to be able to pay for it. We're $1 million in debt in Webster. Nicholas pays $1 million a year, and they pay theirs. They'd like to have that to put into your communities, and Greenbrier pays about $700,000 a year. So we got to get that under control some way. And guys, I've got the experience. I've got a little bit of time under my belt now to know what's happening in Charleston. And all I'm going to do is ask you for your support. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm pro-God, I'm pro-gun, and I'm pro-life, and I'm pro-work. So let's go get it. Thank you.
All right, and candidate Stanley Adkins.
One of the things that used to happen when freshmen showed up here, and I was one of those in the early 1960s, and the principal then was a guy named C.P. Wells. He would stand right here at this platform and give a speech, but one of the things he would say, I know people like Harold Siebert's going to remember this, he'd say, listen, what you need to have an objective, and Jackson Tully remembers this, what you need to have as an objective is you could say Nicholas County High School was a better place because I was there. Is that true, Harold? No? What did he say? At any rate, what I want to do is to say that Nicholas County is a better place because I was there. I want to make sure that, I wanted to serve as mayor. I wanted to be a businessman here for, I'm finishing my 50th year as a CPA in this community, so I've probably done some of your taxes along the way. And my family has been in business here for some 50 years. I do think infrastructure is the key. If you're going to have people move here, they got to have homes. They got to have water systems, sewer systems. You got to have a hospital. People will not come here. Someone said today, listen, we got a business that's going to open here. They're going to hire 100 people. Where are they going to live? What house are they going to buy? What sewer system are they going to hook up to? What water system are they going to hook up to? What hospital are they going to go to? It'd be a very tough sell to get somebody in here. I faced that when I was the mayor. We went on a search for employers, and we got a call center and the metal place, and we had opportunities for others, but we just couldn't get places for the people to live, or our infrastructure just wouldn't support it. Now we're one of the places where our infrastructure will support it. We've got a regional water plant. So I think Summersville is set up, or actually Central West Virginia is set up to really take advantage of what's out there as far as getting employers in here. And one of the governor's candidates said, listen, if you don't have jobs, people won't come here. Well, that's true. That is true. And, I hope to do my part. If you agree with me, if you think I can do a part, then vote for me. And if you don't, I'm going to still work hard to do what's best for Nicholas County, in my opinion. Thank you all.
All right, thank you once again to our candidates for House of Delegates. Thank you so much. Let me remind you about those questions. If you have them, please write them down, hold them up. Those runners will get to it. We do have a couple cookies back there, maybe a bottle of water if that's something you need to do to stand and stretch. We encourage you to do so. All right, let me welcome to the stage the candidates for the office of Circuit Judge. All right, in our first opening statement, welcome to the podium, candidate Michael Cox.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to thank all the delegates and candidates that have come out to share their views and opinions tonight. My name is Michael Cox. I'm running for the newly created position of Circuit Court Judge Division II in Nicholas County. This will be a new position starting this January. Previously, we only had one circuit judge. Now we will have two. So a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong Nicholas County resident, born and raised here. Went from here to Morgantown attended WVU, where I got 2 bachelor's degrees, one in computer and one in electrical engineering. During that time, I was also in the West Virginia National Guard, including a tour overseas in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. During that time, I was the president of the Nicholas County E911 Board, was a member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee, treasurer of the Nicholas County Sheltered Workshop. I was the county representative to the Regional EMS TSN Board of Directors. While I was there, I was that board's representative to the Governor's Advisory Council on EMS. So after doing all that stuff, I took over the company that my parents created, which was Ready Care Ambulance. I did that for about 13 years. I'd like to say that position wasn't just handed over at the time. I had worked my way up through every position in the company, from ambulance washer, biller, dispatcher, EMT, paramedic, instructor, you name it, I did it. So after doing that for about 13 years, my brother convinced me to go to law school, which I did in WVU. After graduating from WVU, I was the law clerk for Judge Rowe for about 1.5 years, 2 years. After that, I went over to the Nicholas County Prosecutor's Office, where I have been ever since. And my time is up. So thank you very much.
Next is candidate E. Scott Stanton.
Thank you all. Thank you all and good evening. My name is E. I get asked all the time, stands for Edward. Edward Scott Stanton. I've been practicing law since 1986. I graduated from WVU Law School in 1986. I began working here in Nicholas County in 1987. I've raised a family here. My daughter, Selby McClung, teaches English at the Nicholas County High School, and my granddaughter is here, Harper McClung, as well. So, and a lot of people seem to know her from my Facebook page. I've been practicing law for 38 years, and I think I'm a good candidate for this position for 3 reasons: my age, my work ethic, and my experience. My age, I'm 62. I've been working for the Fayette County Public Defender's Office, where was the chief deputy for 21 years. I've retired from that job, but at 62, I want to keep working. And that's what I mean by my work ethic. I don't mean that Mike or Greg don't have a great work ethic too. I've worked with both these men. I know that they do. But I've been driving to work every day for the last 21 years, and I was blessed to have that job for the state for a lot of reasons. But I want a job that I can work at and walk to. I live here in Summersville, and I can walk to work. And I hope you'll give me the opportunity to do that. And if I'm not elected, then I'll probably do that and serve in other things in the community. Third is my experience. I've been practicing law for 38 years. But those 38 years have spent in the courtroom. In the courtroom, before juries, doing what I'm asking you to elect me to do. Thank you.
Next is candidate Greg Tucker.
Let me first start by thanking the Chamber and each of you for coming out and let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Greg Tucker. I grew up in Nicholas County. I went to school here. I raised my family here, and I spent a lot of time representing Nicholas County residents. I have had the pleasure and honor of being elected as county prosecutor and also as a state senator. I've been practicing law in Richwood and Summersville throughout that time. I have been a lawyer for over 30 years. I have represented clients in criminal cases, civil cases, and cases involving children. I have spent a great deal of time as the city attorney for the town of Summersville, practically since I began practicing law, the last 16 years or so under Mayor Schaefer. I'm also the city attorney for Richwood and the county commission. I am also, have been since 1994, a state administrative law judge. I've been active in the community. I served 3 terms on the Summersville Hospital Board. I have been on the Nicholas Old Main Foundation. I was the Nicholas County representative for the Yeager Airport. I'm currently a member of the Chamber, Rotary Club, Old Main Foundation, past board member of Summersville Youth Athletics. I'm asking for your vote for Circuit Judge in the Division II for several reasons. But, you know, the Circuit Judge position is probably the position that has the most ability to influence people's lives. There's not a decision that a circuit judge makes that doesn't affect somebody's life, and oftentimes many people's lives. These life-saving decisions or life-changing decisions are made every day from day one. I think I have the experience as an administrative law judge. I've heard hundreds of cases, issued hundreds of decisions, most of which have been upheld by the new intermediate court, I might add. I do have the experience. I think you want the most qualified person as your circuit judge. I believe that having a successful law practice for over 30 years and also being the city attorneys and attorneys for the county commission and as an administrative law judge qualifies me to do that. So I would ask for your vote on May 14th as the circuit judge for Division II. Thank you very much.
Questions for our circuit judge candidates into our closing statements. So I do ask back to the podium, candidate Greg Tucker.
This job is all about qualifications. As I told you, I've been a lawyer for more than 30 years. I've represented clients in civil cases, criminal cases, child cases. I've argued cases before the United States District Court, the West Virginia Supreme Court, and many circuit judges or circuit courts throughout the state. I think you want the most qualified person to fill this position. So when you go to the polls, what I want you to consider this one question. Do I want to vote for the most qualified person, or do I want to vote for the least qualified person? Would you hire the least qualified electrician or the most qualified electrician to work on your house? The answer is fairly clear. And I believe that answer is me. I would appreciate your vote on May 14th for Circuit Judge in Division II. Thank you very much.
Next is candidate E. Scott Stanton.
Thank you, and thank the Chamber for putting this on. You know, I helped form the soccer team at Nicholas County High School. I know what a red card means. I got the job because my wife told somebody in the league that I actually knew some of the rules, so they put me in charge of it. There's been a lot of talk here tonight about experience, and that's what I ended mine on, and that's what I want to go into in a little more detail. I've been a trial lawyer for 38 years. I've been in trial courts and have tried nearly 100 jury trials. That's quite a few, because a lot of attorneys go through their career and don't try any. I have been a prosecuting attorney. I have been a criminal defense attorney. I have been a civil attorney, and I've been on a civil attorney as one representing plaintiffs, and for a while when I was working with Steve Davis and Greg Sproles, we were representing insurance companies. So I've run the whole gamut and not only just made appearances in court, but I've done actual jury trials. In my last 18 months in Fayette County, I did 12 jury trials, including 3 first-degree murders. These are cases you all have heard of. These are all cases that you all have heard of and know about. I have the experience in the courtroom, and I can take that experience. I've seen judges that I didn't think were very good. I've seen judges I thought were darn good. I know what works in a courtroom. I know what doesn't work in a courtroom. And that experience is what I'm asking you to please put on the bench here in Nicholas County. And I think that's by voting for me, Scott Stanton. Thank you.
And last, candidate Michael Cox.
Well, it seems to be that experience is the topic of the day. And I'll fully admit I have not been an attorney nearly as long as either one of these two gentlemen. But I would like to maybe give you some statistics. Since I came to the prosecutor's office approximately 5 years ago next week, there have been 9,871 criminal cases come through our office. Now, our office handles 73% of what goes on in circuit court. So, and of the criminal cases, I have been involved in almost every single one of them. Now, I won't tell you all of those are murder cases or, even felony cases. In fact, the vast majority of those are going to be misdemeanors. 8,707 misdemeanors, 1,164 felonies. Of those cases, I have been involved in almost every single one of them. So while I agree that experience matters, my argument to you would be that recent relevant experience matters more. Thank you.
All right, and thank you to our candidates for Circuit Judge. Thank you so much. Next to the stage, I welcome Family Court Judge candidate. All right, so I'm getting the word from the men in black. We're going to move on. I think that's wise. All right, next is County Commission. And I am getting word from the men in black that he is here. So we got him. Excellent. Good time maybe to stretch. Make sure to grab those questions. Fill those things out. Hold those up, and our runners will grab them. All right. So, candidate running for County Commission, welcome to the podium, candidate Garrett Cole.
Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Garrett Cole, and I am running to continue serving as your Nicholas County Commissioner. Only second to marrying my wife, Elizabeth, who is expecting our first child next month, it has been the honor of my life to serve as your Nicholas County Commissioner for the going on to the last 6 years. With 2 minutes, I can't say a whole lot, but I'm going to do my best to give you a few highlights of what we've done in the past, as well as a few ideas of what we intend to do going forward for Nicholas County. I was a part of the negotiations that were largely handled by Commissioner Chapman to get the Summersville Post Office, the former Summersville Post Office, for $1. And in the process of turning that into a new Homeland Security and Emergency Management Center, as well as a Sheriff's Department Center, we saved this county between $4 to $5 million taxpayer dollars. I personally have been a yes vote for both of the 2 largest deputy pay raises in county history, and I've been an advocate for improved equipment and cruisers for our deputies. I represented Nicholas County earlier this year in Washington, D.C., and I was awarded $129 million towards a $350 million solar farm that is coming to our county. I was successful in negotiating with the Biden EPA to allow the remaining coal seams underneath the solar farm to continue to be mined. So we did nothing to hurt our coal industry, but bring more jobs and opportunity into Nicholas County. It's unheard of, but I shared to our shared values, and we are fortunate that we were successful. I'm actively involved in the recruitment of new industry to come to Nicholas County, as well as the retention of our current employers that reside in our communities. I reorganized and reestablished our County Parks and Recreation Commission, which Commissioner Gary Roberts is doing a fine job running right now, as well as reorganized our Homeland Security and Emergency Management Department to better serve our citizens in a more professional manner. I'm a big advocate for disaster preparedness, and while we did see a good response last week, we can always do better. We are working tirelessly to turn this county around, and I am honored and excited to simply be a part of that. There are so many opportunities out there still that we can find together, and the best part is we're only getting started. My name is Garrett Cole, and I'm running to be your Nicholas County Commissioner. Thank you, and God bless Nicholas County.
All right. Thank you to our County Commission candidate Garrett Cole. Next is the assessor. All right, running for office of of assessor. Let me welcome candidate Betty Griffin.
Hi, how are you? My name is Betty Griffin, and I'm running unopposed for the Nicholas County Assessor's Office. I've been asked to come and introduce myself. My parents are Darrell and Charlotte Cartwright. They moved back here in '81. My father retired from the Army, and Nicholas County was my mom and dad's home, so here we came. In '84, I married my husband, David Griffin from Gilbo, And we had a daughter named Sandra who's married to Jacob Bostick now, and I have 2 grandchildren, Colton and Griffin. I have worked for the Nicholas County Clerk's Office for 23 years. I have no experience in the assessor's office. However, because our 2 offices do work together, I have a little bit of knowledge about what goes on. I have no intentions of changing anything as of right now. I think Ernie Dennison has done a great job in his office, and I think he has a great staff. I do appreciate you all coming out and you having me here today to let you know a little bit about me, and if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me at the office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's welcome to the stage for the candidate for the office of magistrate. Men in black told me everything's okay. I needed to stretch a little bit. It's all right. All right. Our first candidate to the podium is candidate Beth Bozo.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us this evening. My name is Beth Bozo. I'm candidate for Division II Magistrate of Nicholas County, all of Nicholas County. A lot of people get confused over the divisions. There are 3 seats. All 3 magistrates cover all of Nicholas County. I've been married to Doug Bozo for 35 years. We have 2 amazing sons, Scott and CJ, a beautiful daughter-in-law, and the most amazing granddaughter, Indy. I am a published author. I have 3 children's books out under my name, 1 romance novel under a pen name. And I have been with the West Virginia Supreme Court for over 15 years. John Morton hired me as his assistant in November of 2005. I served with him until he retired at the end of 2016. In 2019, I was contacted by the Administrative Office of the West Virginia Supreme Court to see if I would come back as a senior status assistant. My first assignment was in Kanawha County, and I was assigned to Magistrate Pete Lopez, who ironically is a Nicholas County native. I spent 4 years down there until I was contacted by Magistrate Sarah Brown to see if I would come back last year, and here I am. My life is in Nicholas County, my family's in Nicholas County. I grew up in Webster. My parents moved here in 1987. I met Doug in 1988, married him in 1989 after 4 months of dating. 35 years later, here we are. As a magistrate assistant in Nicholas County, small caseload, everything was manageable. Kanawha County's a little different. The experience I have there, I worked with all 10 magistrates. The assistants sat on the bench with the magistrate. We sat in on everything from the beginning of the case, the arraignment, preliminary hearings, juvenile hearings, preliminaries, civils, wrongful occupations, everything, from the time that case starts until it ends. So I've sat in on hundreds of cases, from shoplifting to murder. My experience is unique in that I've had that ability. I've learned from all of the magistrates that I've worked with of the things to do and also what not to do. So I think it's very important as a magistrate to keep in mind we are impartial. I'm not on the prosecutor's side. I'm not on the law enforcement side. I'm not on the defense's side. My job is to look at the paperwork, make sure that that criminal complaint meets the criteria to find probable cause, and follow it through. I'm not going to show favoritism. Doesn't matter if I know you or not. That's just how it is. Our job is to make sure that we follow the law to the letter, and I intend to do that. My name is Beth Bozo, and I would appreciate your vote on May 14th. Thank you.
Next is candidate Billy Spinks.
Hello, my name is Billy Spinks.
I'm seeking your vote for the nonpartisan race for Nicholas County Magistrate Division 2. What I bring to the table is over 30 years of law enforcement experience in both the county level and the federal level. And that experience and my many trainings have prepared me to be your magistrate. While talking to people throughout the county, I've found that a lot of people don't remember who I am. That's because I was gone for 20 years, chasing my career in the federal system. A few things that I'm going to highlight that may make you remember who I am. My dad is retired Sergeant Henry Spinks of the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department. In 1992, I became the youngest police officer in the state of West Virginia at the time when I joined the Sheriff's Department myself. In 1998, I became the first police officer in Nicholas County to be stationed full-time in the school system as a prevention resource officer at Richwood Junior High School, and I was one of the first 8 in the entire state. I was also a DARE instructor at the many grade schools throughout the county. I made the first felony arrest in the state of West Virginia for non-payment of child support when the law was added to the West Virginia Code. In 2002, I was the first person to be hired at the Federal Correctional Institution in Gilmer, West Virginia. In October 2022, I retired from FCI Ashland, Kentucky at the rank of lieutenant and moved back to Nicholas County. I'm currently a substitute teacher for Nicholas County Board of Education. If you want to find out more about me, I have a Facebook page. It's Billy Spinks, candidate for Nicholas County Magistrate, and I'm seeking your vote, so thank you.
Okay, next is candidate Jenny Gale Taylor.
Hi, everybody. As he said, I am Jenny Gale Taylor. I am a Nicholas County resident, born and raised. I come from a very large family in Craigsville, and I have, kind of nervous here. I have 3 children. I have 3, they're grown and married. I'm never at a loss for words, so bear with me, I apologize. But I have 3 full-grown children. They are all married. I have 8 grandchildren. 2 of my children, along with my 8 grandchildren, all live in Craigsville. So I have a very much vested interest in this county and to make sure that our community is safe. I have been a magistrate assistant full-time for 27 years. Prior to that, I worked as a temporary in and out for about 15 years. If somebody was on vacation, I was invited in to work as a temporary. I have worked with every magistrate Nicholas County's had except for one of the originals. I have worked with everyone from Phil Conley to my current magistrate, Wayne Plummer. I apologize. The magistrate court system has taught me that, again, it's all fair and impartial. We cannot be one-sided. While we do not make the laws, it is our job to interpret them, to apply them to the situations that are brought before us. My experience is that I have a lot of connections with the community, the judicial system, a lot of the agencies and offices over 27 years, you can imagine. I kind of have a feel for the way that they all operate. My connections with the community, I have been connected because of my children and my grandchildren. I have a granddaughter that will be 21 next year, or next month, excuse me. And I have dealt a lot with ball games and all that kind of stuff. So he's flashing a red card at me. I saw you. All right. But I am Jenny Gale Taylor, and I am a candidate for Nicholas County Magistrate Division 2. Thank you.
Well, as there's no questions, we'll just move right along into those closing statements. So, our first closing statement, welcome back to the podium, candidate Billy Spinks.
I've spent over 30 years of my life serving and protecting citizens. and I'd love for you to give me the opportunity to continue to do so by letting me be your magistrate. I have the experiences of not only interpreting but applying laws while investigating crimes both on the county level and the federal level. The disciplinary system in place at the in the federal prisons mirrors that of our court systems. And if in that mirroring, if they put the labels on, as a lieutenant, I would have been the magistrate. So I had to do the same things, only on a smaller scale, at a prison that a magistrate does here in the court system. On any given day that I went to work, I was solely in charge of 300 staff members and up to 1,800 inmates each day. So I know how to manage. I know how to do the job. I hear a lot of people saying they want to see change. If change is what you would like to see, I'm the only candidate that isn't a current player in the current system. You can't expect change in a system without a change in the players. So I hope that you'll let me be your magistrate, and thank you.
Next is candidate Jenny Gail Taylor.
Okay, a little better this time. My current magistrate loves to tell me that the magistrate court system, especially in West Virginia, its greatest asset is that everyone has a voice. He loves to tell me that everyone, and it's true, everyone that walks in that office has a story to tell. And as a magistrate, it is our job to listen to their side of it, to listen to the other side of it, to apply the laws that are given to us, and to pass out that fair and impartial decision based on what we've heard, based on what is presented to us. I told you earlier about my granddaughter. My family has supported me from the moment that I got into this. The minute I said I want to run as a magistrate, it's about time. I've been doing it for 27 years. They know this. They are fully behind me. As I'm sitting up here, my phone was vibrating. It was my oldest granddaughter. She's wanting to know how this went. How did I do? So I can't tell her tonight how it went, but on May 14th, I hope I can tell her that each and every one of you felt the need to vote me in. Jenny Gail Taylor, Magistrate for Division 2, please.
And last, candidate Beth Bozo.
Okay, so the jitters are out of the way now. I don't have law enforcement experience, that is true, but I do have court experience. I've worked in the court, I've sat in the court, I've sat on the bench with magistrates that I have worked with. I love the law. I start watching the changes that our legislators make in the law at the beginning of each legislative session. So far this year, they have completed 279 bills that have gone through the governor's office. Some he signed, one we know he vetoed, the rest of them go into effect if he makes no ruling whatsoever. Those are things that are important to know. I study that. I love the law. I love the courts. I don't side with anyone. One thing that John Morton taught me, you can be patient, you can be kind, and you can temper that and put it hand in hand with consequences and accountability. So if you do something that you shouldn't and you get caught, it doesn't make you a bad person necessarily. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to hate you or that we're going to look down on you. But there are consequences to your actions, and that is what the magistrate does. We make sure from the time the criminal complaint is presented that it meets the requisites to find probable cause. I can't tell law enforcement how to write their criminal complaints. Prosecutor can. I don't make the laws. Our legislature does. My job is to make sure that they do it correctly, that no one is going to be charged with something that they shouldn't, and that the law is upheld. So on May 14th, I would really hope that you would consider me as your next magistrate, Division II. My name is Beth Boso, and thank you all so much for having us this evening.
Once again, thank you to our candidates for magistrate. Thank you so much. All right, now we're approaching the end, and that's sometimes good. I think it'd be good for us to maybe stretch again, but I do welcome the candidates for sheriff's office. They will start making their way to the stage. I would like to say, as they're coming up, there was over 20 questions that we have gotten from the crowd for this particular office. I see some kids running around, and I have a little one, and I know his bedtime is approaching quickly. So getting to all 20 of those is probably not realistic. However, we do encourage you after this, there is an informal meet and greet, and if your question didn't get to that particular candidate or whatever that you would like to ask, please stay and ask. I think it's a good thing that we continue to do that. And that's not just for the sheriff's office, but it's for any office that you have questions for. All right, so opening statements. Our first candidate to the podium is candidate Sean Bragg.
Good evening. I'm glad you're out here. That shows you care about this county and the ones that's viewing. But I am Sean Bragg. I'm running for Nicholas County Sheriff. May 14th will decide this thing. We're all 4 Republicans, so get out there and change if you have to so you can vote for us, okay? I'm married to my wife of 29 years. I live right here locally in Cradesville. Now this is about me, all right? I grew up in Tioga, West Virginia. Went to Richwood High School. Then I went into the military. I come out of the military and I went to work in Seneca Mental Health for about 5 years. Then I went back into the military. I spent 26 years in the military. I've done 2 tours of combat in Iraq. Believe me, I know how to seize houses. I know how to, seize vehicles, arrest people, those type of things. That's what we did in Iraq, okay? But also, the second time I went to Iraq, I was the operations sergeant that took care of over 160-some men and women while they was on the battlefield. I know how to run operations, believe me. I run the Armory right here at Summersville for 15 years. I was signed for over $50 million of equipment and armor, okay, and weaponry. All right, I got some guys there in the back that I took care of. If you want to talk to them after this, they're standing right back there, okay? Believe me, I don't need this job, but I care about this county. And I believe we need change, and I'm the guy that can change it. I'm a working guy. Listen, I work for the school right now. I'm a senior Army instructor at Webster County High School. I've been there 5 years, and I brought change to them kids in that program. Listen, I know what I'm doing, okay? I know operations. I know how to manage things. The sheriff's main job is to bring in the taxes, but I think we have a good tax crew down there that does it already, right? So we can't spend all of our time right there, sucking out taxes. I have heard of and done a little bit of research that, you know what, we could actually take in about another additional $1 million here in the county on taxes, okay? Which we can take that, the commissioners and stuff can take that and put more out to us, the community. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for the same thing? Or are you looking for change? I will be a working sheriff, I promise you that. Listen, 24/7. I know they pay you 8 hours a day, 24/7, okay? The chief deputy that I hire, right, better get ready to work or he'll get fired. I'm just telling you the truth, right? That's what we have to do. We have to take care of them deputies back there. Listen, and they deserve more pay. They deserve better training. They deserve equipment. They deserve it all, okay? But it takes work to do that. Listen, and you got to be committed to them, all right? You got to be committed to the schools, the Board of Education. I want to get into the schools because, like I said, that's where I work right now. And I believe we should make the schools more harder targets, right? We should go in and train our students and train our teachers even more. And I did hear that they train some down here at Summersville, but we got a whole county to take care of, okay? A whole county, all right? And I'm the guy for the whole county. I went and met with all the chiefs of the fire departments. I've talked to all of them. I've met with the state police and stuff. I want to work with those agencies. I want to work together, okay? I want to work with the commissioners there. They give us our budget. That's who gives us our budget, all right? I want to get with them so I can take care of them deputies. Listen, and make sure they're equipped in everything, all right? Because they don't know the next call, what they have to go to, all right? I want to spend money on training too. I want to get them in training, all right? Not a lot of money's been spent on training for our deputies. They need trained. They need trained. okay? So I'm asking for your vote. My name's Sean Bragg. May 14th decides this thing. Get out here and vote. Thank you.
Next is candidate Johnny Evans.
Good evening. My name's Johnny Evans, and I've lived in Mount Nebo area of Nicholas County my whole entire life. I'm married to Angela Evans, and we've been married for 22 years. Next month, right? We have 3 children, Chloe, John, and Tanner. 1 son-in-law, Justin Hill. My parents are John and Lana Evans. They're back there somewhere. I can't see that far in the dark. So they're from Mount Nebo also. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are Dick and Myrna Crislip. They live in Persinger, West Virginia. I'm a 1995 graduate of Nicholas County High School and a 1999 graduate of Marshall University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I'm a member of the Enon Baptist Church in Enon, West Virginia. I was hired at the Sheriff's Department in October of 2000, and I've held several positions on that department, currently serving as the Chief Deputy. If elected as your sheriff, I will be focusing on our manpower situation, our deputy retention problems, establishing new relationships with our youth, community policing, and training. I have dedicated over half my life to the citizens of this county, and if elected as your sheriff, I will continue to work for the Sheriff's Department and for the citizens of this county. Thank you.
Next is candidate Rodney Truman.
Hey, my name's Rodney Truman. They call me Lefty. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years. I've got 27 years for the city. I got 9 years for the county. On top of that, I've got 10 years in the military. Mix all that up together, and I've learned a little bit, all right? I've learned a little bit. My mom and dad, they're both passed away. Ronnie and Mary Truman, they lived in Mount Nebo, West Virginia. We had Scott, Ronnie, and Terry, and I'm nervous, Terry and Robin. All right, we had them kids right there. And mom and dad, dad worked State Road and everything. I've worked as a pro officer, talked to your kids, and I was up there in junior high for the city of Summersville for 3 years, and I worked for the city, or for Richwood High School. I worked for them. And what you got is what I'm trying to say is I got a mixture of both. 35 years in law enforcement, and I've got 10 years in military. If you want a little military, I got a little military for you. You want law enforcement? I got law enforcement. And remember this. When they start doing the codes and stuff, that's black and white. That's black and white. You go 50 miles an hour down the road. You know what that is? That's just black and white. You know what we do? Get a little harder. Hey, buddy, you messed up. What we're going to do is we're going to help you. Now, you messed up 3 times, and it's going to cost you. But law enforcement needs heart. We need heart. We need everybody involved in this. I know everything Sean said is true. I'm done. Because I've got the red card, and I will shut up.
I kind of feel like I need to remind candidates to maybe stay behind the podium so that the microphone gets a hold of you. For our online viewers, the men in black's telling me we can't hear him. All right, next candidate, Mike Underwood.
Good evening. My name is Mike Underwood. I am running for the sheriff. A little bit about myself, talk about my family. I'm the son of the late Hazel Underwood. She passed away 10 years ago with cancer. She retired from the Board of Education. Her office was right back here on this level when we wasn't allowed to come up here. My dad is Eugene Underwood, also known as Poppy. He's a current Summersville City Councilman for 16 years. My sister, Michelle Underwood, she's Director of Nursing and Health Department. My daughter, Madison Underwood, sitting there, also known as Maddie. I've lived here all my life, graduated from Nicholas County in 1988. Went to Fairmont State, got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, minor in psychology. Went to the West Virginia State Police Academy. At that time, we got an associate's degree in police science, along with the training as the 32-week training for the State Police Academy. During the 26 years, I retired in 2020. Some of the training I received was basic narcotic investigation, safe building entry, commercial motor vehicle interdiction, drug interdiction patrol, criminal interdiction patrol. I was an officer survivability trainer at the State Police Academy, training the basic officers and the cadet on proper scenarios near the end of their training. Last job was as a threat prep coordinator at the Nicholas County Health Department. While there, I was trained in incident command, active shooter in the workplace. My community involvement, I've been in the community my whole time. Started out with volunteer fire with Somersville Fire Department. I was the president of the Bill Jock Memorial Association. I was past president of the Fraternal Order Police Organization here. I was past coach of Little League Baseball, Little League girls softball, umpire. So I've been around in the community, and this is what the sheriff is. You got to get out in the whole community and get everybody working together. Thank you.
One thing's for sure, these candidates are passionate. And I think it shows that they're not only passionate for our community, but you are too. Reason why you're here. Question number one, this is going to be for all candidates. How are you going to recruit and retain new law enforcement officers? The first one to the podium to answer that question is candidate Mike Underwood.
Okay. A lot of it, times have changed. State police just changed their age to going into their academy at 18. So what I implement is we're going to have to go to these colleges, Fairmont State, all these law enforcement schools that teach them, and you're going to have to go recruit. You just can't put it here in the Chronicle and on Facebook. You're going to actually have to go out there, talk to the graduates, and the pay isn't the greatest, and that's why we got to work with the commission to up it. But you got to sell this county. We got a new state park. We got the Somersville Lake, and to entice them to come here for the opportunity to work lake patrol for a little bit of extra money. And the retention is, yeah, the money's not the greatest, but if you have a good leader that I can do, then it's not all about the money. If they like your leadership, they're not going to leave you. Thank you.
Next is candidate Rodney Truman.
Exactly what he said. That's exactly. You can't do much more than to get out and take that and try to get into your colleges and stuff like that. We can't hardly get anybody here to stay. One is because of the money. We need more money, and we also need to have, give them a good work environment to work in. That's what we need to do. And you're not going to get a lot of different questions on how to keep people here. That's how we got to keep people here. We got to either get the money in here, we got to either start going farther out than a Facebook ad to get these people involved in here. That's what we got to do. And he's right. And the next two that comes up here, they're right along with him. They'll be right along with him.
Next is candidate Johnny Evans.
They're right. The ball's going to be in all of our courts. It's going to be in the county commission's court. It's going to be in ours. And we have to work together. We have to work along with the county grant writer to find more grants for our county, to bring money into our county to where we can offset those those funds that we would have to spend out of our regular budget. And we've already been doing that when I become chief deputy. We started working on getting cruisers. So we applied for it ended up being a $308,000 grant to buy 6 cruisers. So we should have them within a month or two. And I've been working with the county grant writer to get tasers, and we've got that grant, $30,000. We're working on $80,000 body cam grant. We got that, and we're also going to be working on a $54,000 taser grant to get the rest of our tasers that we need for our 18 deputies. So working together is what we're going to have to do to offset money so we can get the county commission to work together to give us more money on our salaries.
Next is candidate Sean Bragg.
I think it comes to, again, working with the commission. I believe also they cut a couple deputy jobs. We have to look at that and see if we need, the number up there of, I think it's 24 or whatever, cut a few more of them, because the thing is you can't run this county on, working a shift of, 4 on, 3 off and stuff. If you want to cover this county, you might have to work 5 days a week, 8-hour days. We do that. A lot of people does it. Some people work 6. But recruiting and retention, I did that in the military with 161 soldiers, right? Keeping them, and retaining them. And the military's a rough job. You leave your families, you get deployed for years and stuff like that. Working and talking them into staying, okay? That starts with leadership, and that starts with putting good leaders, good sergeants over them men and taking care of them and women and loving them and listen, getting them help if they need help, showing that you care, okay? Also, listen, when it comes to a money thing, it all starts at the end of the day with the commission, because they're the one who gives us money. You think I ain't gonna be ever begging you boys? Like a dog, right? Because I want to keep good men and good women in this job, all right? And recruiting good ones that will stay. That's another thing we need to do. That's what I'll do. Thank you.
Next question for all candidates. How will you collaborate with other law enforcement agencies, whether that be city or state police? First one to the podium, candidate Rodney Truman.
Again, I got 35 years in here, and I have worked with city, county, and state. I have no problem working with all 3, and I think I can negotiate, or whatever you want to call it, to get all 3 entities to work together. I think we have a problem as far as we think that we're better. Each individual department thinks that they're better, and it's a good thing. Sheriff thinks that they're better than the state. State thinks they're better than the sheriff. And the state police, Richwood, thinks they're better than. We need to stop doing that and start giving information to everybody. That's what we failed to do, and that would cut down a lot of problems if we shared information. I don't think we shared enough, and I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to share information with other agencies and we will have better progress. Thank you.
Candidate Mike Underwood.
I've been stationed in Raleigh County, Fayette County, Nicholas County for 8 years. My very first year working in Raleigh County, I was called in to I was told to quit talking to the Raleigh County Sheriff's deputies so much, but we was getting along. That's what it takes. So starting my first part of my career all the way up to when I quit, I've always got along with the cities, the counties, and the states. I can definitely get along with the states now, and it's not happening now. I know the Colonel Chambers, he's from Richwood, being a retired trooper. I'm sure I can talk to him where we can all get happen together, because it's not working together. We got to get back to 24-hour coverage, and when I say coverage, it takes all of us, not just the Sheriff's Department, not just the state police. We have to work together as a group with the city, the police, Summersville, and Richwood. Richwood needs help. They've got 4 officers. We have to work together. And me being stationed in other counties, I know, seen all big departments, Raleigh County, down in Fayette County with Fayette County So we've never had to get along. We've had to get along because in Fayette County, there's like one trooper and 2 deputies. If you didn't get along, you was by yourself, and trust me, you can't go out here and think you're better than everybody. You have to get along, work with everybody to get it solved. And on the crimes, meet with each other to say, it takes a team to get crime solved, not just an individual. That's why it takes everybody to get it. Thank you.
Next is candidate Sean Bragg.
So what we're hearing is there's a problem. There's a problem with people getting along. That's sad. Something I did when I started this campaign was I set out to go meet with all the fire chiefs and all the fire departments, and got real close with them. And not only that, I went and met with the state police, sat down and talked with them. I know Jay Novak and them and everything. I know Billy Nunley back there. I helped Billy run the first time he run. But at the end of the day, unity. I pastor a church here in the county, and bringing unity together is something that's very big. I've been there 12 years. We started with 5 people at that little church, and last Easter Sunday we had about 230 people. You know, we average about 150. That's unity. That's bringing things together. What we're hearing is there's a problem, right? Something I want to do if I'm sheriff is this, and this is my goal if I'm elected, that I'm going to get one day in the year that I get all law enforcement, all fire departments, listen, all ambulance workers, you know, all them people together. I know we got to cover the county, but I'm just saying, try to get them together where they can go out and shake hands, meet each other's family, and be good to each other. That's what we need in this county. You know, I ain't got a thing against any of these guys sitting here. I'm glad they're up here running. But unity is everything. I'm not out to, you know, it went around that I was causing trouble, and I said this, and I just asked some questions, and I knew to shut up at the beginning of this thing when you ask questions, because people take it personal. I didn't mean it personal. And I'll give Billy Nunley back there an apology that I didn't mean anything personal toward him, okay? Because I'm that kind of guy. I don't do those things, okay? I like unity. And if elected, I will bring unity. I promise you that, to this county. Thank you.
Next is candidate Johnny Evans.
There was a time in our, probably earlier on in my career, where everybody worked better together. And Mike knows that. Mike, we worked evening shift. That's probably some of the best times of my career, is working the evening shift on this department. Didn't have really a lot of stress then. We could go out and have fun and do what we're supposed to do. The more you go up in the ladder, the more stressful it is, I guess. But anyways, I think one way that we can get people working better together is our leadership's going to have to get together and have meetings and sit down and just like Lefty said and Mike said and Sean, we have to communicate better. Even, I've noticed it on our department over the years, night shift, not communicating well with the day shift. We just do our job, we go do our 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever we're working, and then we go home. And but when Wetzel Bennett was sheriff, we had an app, and we put our complaints and stuff on there. Everybody knew what everybody was doing. And I would like to start doing something like that in our department, and plus work with Timmy Blake and Jay Nowak and Chief Pitts and Sergeant Murphy and Sergeant Snyder and Sergeant White. All those guys, we need to work together so we know what everybody's doing, because somebody could be working a crime over here and this person knows maybe who done it. And if we don't work together, we won't know that. So thank you.
Okay, next question. If hired as sheriff, who is your chief deputy going to be, and why? Our first candidate is candidate Johnny Evans.
I don't know, and you won't know. I've made that decision from the first time I decided to run for sheriff. No one in this building knows who my chief's going to be because I don't know who my chief's going to be. I told my wife last night, she said, "What if you get asked this question?" I said, and I told her exactly that. Every chief that I thought I would have has retired and no longer wants to be in law enforcement. So I will, if I get elected May 14th, then I'll start thinking about that. But we have several good guys on our department that I would almost say 100% that it'll come from the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department, because I believe that if I'm going to have a person who works under me has to have the same values and same understanding of our department, and I think that can only be a deputy sheriff.
Next is candidate Sean Bragg.
In the military, we set up boards to hire the best. Okay, you got 5 sergeants there, and they're all good ones, right? They're all good, but you got to pick the best, right? I think implementing a way to even deputies there in the back or whoever can put in for chief deputy, and they'll set before a board of officers that's done the job, that looks at everything and picks it apart and hires the best individual for that job, because the chief deputy has a lot of work to do. And believe me, if I'm sheriff, they will have a lot of work to do, because, listen, I will watch everything they do, not micromanage, but I will make sure that they do their job and they take care of the deputies, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. It's the best way to pick the best person instead of buddies and friends and rubbing elbows, right? You need to pick the best, and that's what we've done in the military, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the best. Thank you.
Candidate Mike Underwood.
When it comes to the chief deputy, it takes somebody that's a proven leader. And my chief deputy, I've talked to a few different people, and I'm like Sean here and all. I want somebody that represents my value, because the chief deputy on down represents you as the sheriff. And with that being said, I'm like Sean, they're going to work, and it's not a Monday through Friday job. We're going to be out all the time. It's hard to tell when you'll see me and the chief deputy, and it's not to check on the guys, it's to help them and assist them. So the chief deputy that I will pick will be a chosen leader, and I'm sure he will be change for everybody. That's all I can say, and it'll be a good one, or he won't work for me. Thank you.
Candidate Rodney Truman.
I ditto. I ditto. That's what you need. You need someone that is going to be a help and also will uphold your values, but people can work with them. People's got to work with who they got in their upper echelon. If you don't have that, then you have nothing. If you can't work, and I've done it, I've had people that were chiefs or chiefs and sheriffs, and even in the military. You're an idiot. You're an idiot, and I can't work for you. It's bad to say that, but there are some people that do not deserve to be in law enforcement. Plus, they don't deserve to be a leader because they are an idiot. They don't understand how to run certain people. They don't understand that. And that's the problem we have with today. Hey, in law enforcement, as far as law enforcement is concerned, listen, you got to be adjustable. You got to, because I'm telling you, you walk into a house where a guy has done beat the thunder out of somebody. You understand where I'm coming from? You better be negotiable about it, and you better be able to handle that situation. Your chief deputy has got to be the same way. We've got to work with people. We've got to be flexible. If we're not flexible, I'm telling you, it'll go south about that fast. And I've been in situations where it went south about that fast. And then what you're doing is you're backing up and you're trying to back up and field goal that sucker, buddy, because everything just went south on you. So I'm telling you, on your people that you have as your what? Chief. Am I thinking about? Chief deputy. As your chief deputy, he's got to work with everybody. All right? And I'm sorry, I get a little nervous. And a little fool.
All right, next question. With the new state park in Summersville in Nicholas County, it's kind of out of city limits. How will safety of the visitors and of our citizens be addressed? First candidate to the podium is candidate Sean Bragg.
You said the state park, the new one? I'd seen a thing about, they was talking about annexing it into the city, right? Well, we absolutely got some great Summersville PD, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? We got to pick up patrol, okay? I believe the cars should always be moving. All right, I'd put out on a thing that, station deputies here and there. When deputies come on duty, they shouldn't report like down to the courthouse, unless they've got court or something going on there. But they should instantly leave that place and go to work, okay? And if we hit a new state park in here, which we are going to, then listen, it should be patrolled just like the rest of the county. I've asked many people along this path, and they say, I don't see many deputies here and many deputies there. We have to be moving those cars. We can't have them, parked at the courthouse 5 and 6 deep. They have to be out there going, okay? So that's the way I do it. Thank you.
Next is candidate Johnny Evans.
So I think one thing that people don't really realize is 2015 we had 26, 27 deputies, and they laid off. We had to lay off 8 deputies. And so then when we got down to 20 deputies, and after the 20 deputies, we went to the county commission when we got this last salary increase, and we wasn't getting people to come and apply for our jobs. So we gave up 2 positions. And I've always been taught not to give up anything, but we had to give up 2 positions to get a pay raise so we can maybe bring guys in. A lot of these guys, you have 14 deputies right now. You have a chief deputy, you have a family court bailiff, you have circuit court bailiff, you have a domestic violence officer, and you have 1 school resource officer. I'm going to need a little bit more time than this. And then you're going to have then you have 2 in the academy right now, and I have 1 uncertified. That's 8 deputies. I have 6 left. 6 left to cover this whole county. And we have lake patrol going on, guys working overtime shifts. I got guys on our department working 6, 7 days a week, 10-hour shifts to cover the Richwood High School officer that were vacant. No pun intended.
That's cool.
But anyways, our guys are working hard, and I'm proud of each and every one of them. And we got a couple more candidates coming up that's may work out. One's probably going to work out really well. I don't know about the other one because I don't know him. But it's all going to come down to recruiting and get guys in here. Or females. I'm all for that. Let's get some people hired, and then we can get more people out in the community. That's one of the things I want to work on is community policing, get guys out in the community. The more traffic, the more deputies, Sean's right, the more deputies you have out in that community, the more crime prevention you're going to have. And people see a police cruiser coming, they're going to think twice about committing a crime.
Candidate Rodney Truman. New state park in Summersville, right out of city limits.
Right.
Yep. How will you address the safety of visitors and the citizens?
What we're going to have to do is it's going to end up with the sheriff's going to have to get out, and he's going to have to ride around too. With everybody else, he's going to have to be just exactly like a deputy. And I have, just like them 3, I have the same law enforcement, can arrest, can take statements, can do anything and everything. We don't have that. I mean, we don't have we have it, but we need more of it. We need more of it. We need more of the upper echelon getting out. I don't think they get out a lot. They do, but not a lot. So we need to push that. And as far as we don't, like Johnny said, we don't have a lot of deputies. So you know what you need to do? You need to improvise. You need to adapt. Put a car down at Drennan with blacked out blacked out windows and stuff like that. And when it comes down through there, about the third time, you'll have a deputy sitting in there. That can stop them. Hey, listen, 3 days you went through there, no deputies out there. The third day, put a deputy out there and teach them. Listen, if there's a car out there, your possibility of making it through here, not very good, because one day they're going to nail you. So you got to use what you got, all right? You got to use what you got.
Candidate Mike Underwood.
All right, what I do with the state park, first of all, it goes back to you got to get along with everybody. Since it's a state park, all the other state parks usually has a state superintendent to watch over it and all. So therefore, you'd have to go talk to the superintendent, ask him what he would like for us to do, and we do need to patrol it even though it's a state park. But you have to communicate with them as well to see what they're going to do for that state park, what are their intentions are. Do they want us in there patrolling? Even though it is a state park, they have their own system. You can go to Carnifax Ferry. They have their superintendent that patrols Carnifax. So instead of just saying you got to go out there, you got to work with everybody to come up with a plan to help them patrol the state park there. And like you said, we got to get more deputies with the help of the commissioner and all to be able to patrol these areas to help. I got the red card. Thank you.
All right, next question. Do you plan to offer any prevention programs within the department? Programs, and I hope I get this correct, such as DARE and Police Explorer. All right, first candidate is candidate Rodney Truman.
And yes, I would, but no, we ain't got the deputies and stuff. Guys, when you start doing that stuff and asking for stuff, we got to get the deputies in first before we start adding stuff on. Can the sheriff go out there and talk to them kids? Buddy, I've done it for 5 years. I'm pro officer for 5 years. And got good with them, got good results, could talk back and forth. Somebody is going to have to do that, which I think the sheriff can do that. That's one of the things I think the sheriff can do. The sheriff can go to the different different schools and stuff, and they can do that. And you know what you're not doing? You're not tying up a deputy. You're not tying up a deputy when you do that. The sheriff can go do that. His assistant can go do that. His assistant can do that. But yes, those are good things to do, but you gotta have people. You gotta have people to do it.
All right, next is candidate Johnny Evans.
I have actually looked into the DARE program and thought about sending a deputy to it, but just like Lefty said, sometimes we can get too much on our plate, and I think that's what we've got right now. We're still trying to do the job of 26 deputies with 18 positions and actually just 14 deputies. But I will work on establishing new relationships with our youth in our communities. There is times that an officer can stop by a grade school and go eat with the grade school kids and have interaction with them at ball games or whatever the thing may be. A lot of times our kids are seeing law enforcement in a bad experience, such as parents getting arrested for domestic because of drug situations, deputies going with CPS, or state police going with CPS, or city cops going with CPS to remove children from their home And they love their parents, even though their parents is on drugs and they're not being taken care of. They don't realize that sometimes. And we need to do better of trying to get more, establish better relationships with our youth.
All right, next is candidate Mike Underwood.
Well, first of all, you do have there's a drug epidemic here. Every county has drug problems. Worked with the health department for a year and a half before I resigned to run for sheriff. We have to work together with the kids to start the kids out, to get them off drugs and try to teach them how. So you can implement it, and I would surely hope that, as me being sheriff, that I would make time for the kids, and if I can save 1 or 2 people from getting on drugs, then I'd implement that. That helps 2 kids. But we got to work the whole county, not just one school or the other. You have to implement something to help the kids. And as far as being seen in kids, I've been doing that my whole life, of getting in the kids out of uniform so they can talk to you after, while you're not wearing the big uniform, or while you're umpiring, while you're coaching, so they can confide in you as a friend, not being that deputy or state trooper and all. They see you in a plain clothes and all, it relaxes them. So you got to get out there when you're not working and help the community, like I've done my whole time as volunteering.
Next is candidate Sean Bragg.
I work in the school system right now. I've been there 5 years. Drugs are a problem in the schools. But see, what we should do as a sheriff's department is this: reach out to the cities, reach out to the state police and stuff. You know, take turns, because we can't leave our kids behind because we don't have enough people. That's just not the answer, okay? And absolutely, the sheriff, my goodness, you can at least get out there every once in a while and spend an hour or so in each school working with the kids about drugs and those things, and alcohol, and it's even worse. Fentanyl, it's just deadly, okay? The chief deputy out there working. And you know, they'd said something about all these deputies being, you know, here and here and here. I'm not for sure, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, with them working in the courthouses and stuff like that, they're not in court all the time. So if they're not in court, they can be out here doing other things and being managed by that chief deputy, right? Being out there at the school or being out there patrolling and doing those type of things. You got to make sure you're managing it right, okay? You can't just send them down there to the courts and they take 1 or 2 people up there and then they're off the rest of the day, or they're just sitting there. And I'm not saying they do that. I'm just saying if that's happening, we got to make a change there, okay? But we cannot leave the kids behind just because, you know, oh gosh, you can't do that. Mission first, and I think mission first is our kids. All right, thank you.
Okay, once again, if we don't get to your questions, we do encourage you to stay after, a little informal meet and greet, and I would encourage you to ask those questions to your sheriff candidates. But our last question of the evening, and this is to all candidates before our closing statements. And here's the question: how do you plan to address this issue of deputies that potentially need basic safety equipment, vests, and etc.? All right, first candidate to the podium is candidate Sean Bragg.
Should be a top priority, making sure our deputies are equipped and ready. But I know there's deputies, okay, that don't wear their vest. That's wrong, all right? As sheriff, I'll wear a vest, okay, as an administrator, right? So I know it's uncomfortable. I wore a vest in combat. Believe me, they're very uncomfortable. A zappy plate in the back and in the front are terrible. But you know what? It saves lives. It saves lives. We have to make them wear the vest, okay? Body cams has to be worn. That makes you professional, all right? But it also, listen, it keeps them out of trouble, right? It keeps the county from being sued, but it also tells the story. As sheriff, I will wear a body cam the whole time, okay? Equipment it's the number one thing. I know this, okay? And I don't do this to shoot at the sheriff's department. But when my son-in-law went to work for the sheriff's department, right, he had to buy his own AR. That's terrible. That's terrible. You know what I mean? Not only that, that's how he got his vest. That was the one that would save his life. Okay? Now, I know they have improved. You guys have got grants, and I'm just glad for that, right? But equipping our officers is number one priority. Number one priority when they got there and do that job. Okay? That's the way I take care of it. Thank you.
All right. Candidate Johnny Evans.
there's not one deputy that doesn't have a vest. And if they don't wear the vest, they've chosen to do that. I've worn my vest every day I've ever put a uniform on. I'd be in the doghouse with my wife really fast if I didn't have my vest on, and it don't matter if I'm going to a funeral service or whatever. I don't know. I believe that our deputies are. I mean, we're always going to be improving. That's why we're improving our tasers. Our tasers are outdated, and that's why I started working on those. Those can dissolve a situation a whole lot faster sometimes than us having to use our firearms. And that's the goal, is to go home every evening. And I'll do everything possible to make sure my deputies are kept safe. If I'm elected as your sheriff, I'll strive to have the safest sheriff's department in the state of West Virginia.
Next is candidate Rodney Truman.
Guys, I come up here and I say a bunch of stuff and kind of joke around and stuff like that. Listen, this job literally sucks at times. I'm telling you, it sucks. You do you go into some horrible things. You do that. And you got to have a mindset that it don't take over. On your equipment and stuff like that, we don't have the money. We would have to go, and you can go to grants and stuff. But like Johnny said, we got vests, and we've got rifles, and we got stuff like that. And we'll keep doing that. But you got to go, because we just don't have a big income of money. So we're going to have to go outside of the county and go to the government of West Virginia. We're going to have to do that. All right? That's where we're going to get our grants. That's where we're going to get our money to, like they say, to support the deputies and stuff as far as the vests and stuff. Them vests cost, what, $5,000? They're expensive. They're expensive. Man, they are expensive. And we're a small county as far as money is concerned. We got to get a way to get that money. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Next is candidate Mike Underwood.
Well, as a state trooper, I made a promise to my mom I'd never work a shift without wearing my vest, and I started out with the bad ones that you wore underneath their shirts, and they was god awful. Now they went to the outside vest, and they had it near the end of my career. They was a lot more comfortable. And I'm like Sean, if you're a working sheriff, you better have a vest on, because you never know when you're going to go out here. And that goes along with the deputies and all. They need to make sure, especially if they have families, that's why you wear your vest, so everybody goes home at the end of the night, and that helps save your life, is these vests. And to get them, one thing you got to do with the grants, there's other ways out there, and when I say I'm not promised or guaranteed, but you got to look of communication, helping other people, whether it might be the federal government, might be the military surplus. That I know the state police gets a lot of equipment from the military surplus, so that would be one avenue I'd look into to get better equipment and help with the equipment through maybe the military surplus, or the grants and there's all kinds of grants you can write for. It's just getting time to do it and getting the equipment here for them.
All right, let's move along to our closing statements. So, first of the closing statements, let me welcome back to the podium candidate Mike Underwood.
All right, we didn't get to talk much about one of the issues that we actually would tackle if we become sheriff. Most importantly, you're going to have accountability, and that starts from the top. If you start from the top down, then you expect your lower guys to be held accountable if they can hold you accountable. So that's that's one of the issues I'd tackle, make sure everybody's held accountable for their actions, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever. You have to have accountability. We got to get back to 24-hour coverage. And that gets back to working with the state police and communicating with everybody to get on a 24-hour coverage, because when nobody knows there's nobody out, then crime's going to happen. So you got to get people out there and moving around for 24-hour coverage. You got to get more deputies, like you said. That's what I try to do: recruit, get an officer to go to these colleges to bring them here, entice them a little bit with the lake and all. Work with all the first responders, including the fire departments, and I'm sure I can do that. Being one, I was on that side starting out when I was 18, being a volunteer fireman. Got with state police, I was still a volunteer fireman. So I know what they need on certain calls, and when they holler for help, with me helping them with the deputies to understand why they're needing the law enforcement to show up at their scenes. So I'm on both sides of that fence with the fire department, because I was one when I was young, starting at 18. Then you got to get training for the deputies, and there's all kinds of classes out there, but it takes money, so that helps with the commission to give us some, working with the commission to give more budget to get more training classes so the deputies can go out and get trained for classes. And I'll be a working sheriff with the law enforcement experience, and my chief deputy will. And just remember May 14th, get out there and vote, because without voters, it doesn't matter who's up here. You got to get out and vote for whoever, because if you don't vote, you can't complain. Remember May 14th, Mike Underwood. Thank you.
All right. Candidate Rodney Truman.
I got 34 years in law enforcement, 10 years in military. Out of all that, wind it all up, and I've got two things to say. One man will not win a war. One man will not win a war. You can go up there and do whatever you want to, and you will not win a war. You need everybody. Two, a wise man will always seek counsel. A wise man will always seek counsel, because you know what? I look at it from one way, but yet somebody else can look at it from the other way and say, hey, what about this? I went down there and talked to them in Drennan, and they said them cars are going flying back and forth. I said, well, hey, what do we need to do? And he said, well, I don't know what to do. I said, you know what? How about putting a car down here and just park it? Just park it with the windows blacked out. And you know what that does? That makes people think, whoa, there's a deputy down here. Ain't got a soul in that car. Ain't got a soul in that car. I just told everybody. But then in a couple days, you would put somebody in it. I'm saying, I want your vote. I think that this job is a hard job, and if you don't have any enthusiasm, or if you, and I laugh and I joke and stuff, but I'm telling you, I can be serious. There's times to be serious, and there's the time not to be, okay? And that is, if you want to vote for me, I appreciate it. And like he said, there's 3 other ones up there. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Next is candidate Johnny Evans.
There's a lot of things that we didn't get to talk about that I thought we were going to talk about. So one thing is training. As a sheriff, as a chief deputy already, I've already started a training program, field training officer program in our department. We've never ever had one as long as I've ever known. And so now we have a field training officer program. So when we hire someone new, they come in and they stay with this officer, and he makes sure they know everything about our department. I believe in accountability. We have a policy and procedure book. It's about that thick. I put it on a thumb drive. Everybody signs for it, and you better read it if I'm sheriff. I'm going to go by it 100%. One thing my dad told me a long time ago, it's taught me all my life. The good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to listen twice as much as you're talking. And that's what I plan on doing. I'll listen to the citizens. I'll listen to the county commission, their concerns, and we'll work together. I'd just like to say this, that at the ending, I have dedicated 23 years of hard work to this county, and my record, I believe, is clear and convincing that if elected as your sheriff, I will continue to work hard for the citizens of this county. I will work with the county commission, I'll work with the county grant writer to continue to find money to move our county forward. I have only made one promise, and that's hard for a politician. And I'm not trying to be a politician, but I guess I heard Robert Schaefer give a speech one time, said, I am trying to be a politician. I'm trying to be a politician. And you hear politicians make promises all the time. But I'm going to make one promise, and I've only made one promise this whole campaign, and it's to these three guys right here. No matter if I win or lose on May 14th, I will work my hardest to make sure that we have all 18 positions filled by January the 1st, so they don't have to, or I don't have to go through what we've had to go through for the last 2 years. So I thank each and every one of you for showing up here tonight. And on May 14th, remember, Johnny Evans for sheriff.
And last is candidate Sean Bragg.
I appreciate y'all having this. I appreciate you coming out tonight. One way I think we can work together as a community is this. I'd put out there that I'd have a monthly meeting just like this, and everybody in this county can come and shoot whatever they have to at the sheriff. I got to have big shoulders if I'm going to be sheriff. Okay, and I got to show you that I care. And like they said, good counsel. Okay, the Bible teaches us that. Good counsel comes together when we have a whole. Okay, so if we get together and you're telling us what's the problem over here, what's the problem over here, we can definitely define it, write it down, and not just throw it in the trash can when you leave, but go to work. Okay, we've never, that I know of, ever had, a monthly meeting, right? We want to get the fire departments out them monthly meetings, though. We want to get the troopers out. We want to get the cities out, when we're down in Summersville or we're at Richwood or wherever, okay? Because you the people, whoever's sheriff up here May 14th, that's who you pay. You see? Listen to this. We answer to you. We answer to you. Open door policy, I promise you I will have an open door policy. You will not have to go and hunt me down, okay? If I ain't in the office, because I might not be in the office a lot, but when you get to the office and I'm at the office, it's an open door. You walk in, or one of the deputies write down your name, I'll call you, okay? Because I think we're for the people. Listen, that's where we've left, sort of. You know what I mean? But you guys come first, okay? I'm asking for your vote. Listen, May 14th, I want to be elected as your sheriff. I promise you I'll be professional. I promise accountability will happen. And I promise you, if a deputy breaks the law, right, he'll answer just like the citizen out here. And that's the right way to be, right? We can't just let people break the law because, listen, they know this one or they know that one. Listen, if you let that one get away with a little bit of speed, you need to let the other one get away. That's fair. We got to be fair in this county, okay? Like he said, policy and procedure. We will look at that policy and procedure. We will, go and fix it if it needs fixed, update it if it needs updated. But listen, in the military, you go by policy and procedure and you go by regulation, right? I believe when you pour a car over, every officer should do the same thing, okay? When they walk up to that car and the citizen starts cussing them, you can cuss me all day. But guess what? I'm going to stand here until you get done. I'm going to treat you professionally, right? Like a man or a woman should. And then we're going to go ahead and get the business done. All right? And we're not going to have this, I know there's times that you got to take people down. They get mean, they jump on you and stuff like that, right? It's a last resort, but when it has to happen, right? But listen, with those body cams, it shows that the deputies ain't the ones doing the bad things, okay? So I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
And once again, thank you to our candidates for sheriff. Thank you so much. Well, I want to say I appreciate all of you who have showed up and stayed till the end. If we didn't get to your question, I encourage you to go ask those candidates those particular questions. And I think it's important that we understand that it is an important issue because you guys have stayed, and we appreciate that. Us at the Chamber, we really want to promote business. We also want to promote our community. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Have a good night.